he's compiled a big step toward that today against Virginia Tech, man.
All right, Darian Durant really starting since he was a freshman at that time, split time with Ronald Curry, but has taken over since then, and we are getting ready to go. Virginia Tech won the toss and deferred, so Carolina gets the football first, and it is knocked out of the end zone. North Carolina will start from its 20. And Darian Durant indeed holds 48 school records here at Carolina. He's really come on strong lately in wins over North Carolina State and Miami, 2 of the last 3 games, completing 69% of his passes and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, we saw him early in the year, Pam. You know, he was having problems with his accuracy and consistency in completing passes. But since then, he's been marvelous.
Against Miami, a couple of touchdowns, 21 of 29 for 266 yards. And 330 yards of total offense. That was from Durant alone last week. And that stunning win. Can they pull off 2 straight upsets? Chad Scott in the backfield, and Scott was the man last week with a career-high 175 yards against Miami, and he might have picked up 1 on that carry. Injuries actually have forced North Carolina to use 3 different tailbacks. Chad Scott suffered a hip pointer late last week. Jesse Holley, one of the talented young wide receivers on this team. Center Jason Brown, not only an NFL prospect at center, but he brings intelligence and maturity to a line that carved up Miami for 545 total yards last week.
That's where it starts, Pam. Offensive line.
And Brown, who is one of the seniors who was honored before the game today, looking to go out in style. As Durant shows you his talent with his legs, slips a couple of tackles, and Durant, with terrific effort, is stopped a couple of yards short of the first down. Virginia Tech's defense, Darryl Tapp has been their MVP this season. Defensive coordinator Bud Foster says so, and also says that he's ornery. He leads the Hokies with 5.5 sacks. Mikel Baki is the leading tackler on this team. Vince Hall and James Anderson, the other 2 starting linebackers, are both from Chesapeake, Virginia. And Vincent Fuller, a vocal leader with a commanding presence at free safety, and let's say a very neat guy off the field. We'll talk more about that later on. 3rd and 2 for the Tar Heels on their first drive of the game. Durant, all the time in the world, and what a catch! Jesse Holley reaching out and grabbing it in, and he's called Hollywood by his friends, and that was a Hollywood kind of catch.
Well, it certainly was, and I think the first series here, when you get this first down, all the jitters, everything that built from last week to this week, and it starts with the quarterback making completions, moving his team, and getting an extra set of downs for this Carolina offense.
Boy, and Holley also in last week's game broke a bone, the 3rd metacarpal down in his left hand. Played on, had 3 more catches in the game, and that was a great catch. So there's a kid playing with a broken hand at wide receiver. Madison Hedgecock, the fullback, another senior, gets the carry and picks up a couple of yards. James Anderson and Vince Hall, 2 of the linebackers, closing in on him.
You know, we talked about the accolades and all the yards they had last week against Miami, a very good defense, but I think Miami was suspect going into the game. You know, they had a team like North Carolina State and Louisville that had all these yards against Miami, and North Carolina said, hey, we could do this, if not better, and they got it done. But right now, Virginia Tech has to match that punch. They have to control the line of scrimmage.
And you see that the Virginia Tech defense, as usual under defensive coordinator Bud Foster, is having another fantastic year. Carolina trying to catch up offensively, and that's a good way to do it. Chad Scott coming out of the backfield, and that's another first down for the Heels, 12 yards. Vincent Fuller finally making the stop.
Virginia Tech's defense, at least on the perimeter, the secondary becoming very physical early with North Carolina's receivers. The reason that pass was completed out to the outside because the cornerbacks lost sight of the perimeter receiver, Scott. So Virginia Tech right away is trying to punch him right in the mouth as far as the defensive backs go, but they need to keep sight of that running back coming out of the backfield.
Chad Scott has had an injury-filled career since coming to North Carolina. He's a transfer out of Kentucky. And he picks up another big first down, gets the ball on the handoff. That's a mammoth hole on the right side of that Tar Heel offensive line. And Scott picks up about 4 or 5 yards on that carry. You see some of the players already talking back and forth to each other. These 2 teams have not played since 1998.
Yeah, they like this right side. You got 40 starts by Willie McNeil at the right tackle, but this guy right here, the fullback, Hedgecock, he's a guy I like a lot. He's got good position, good balance, but the leverage is the most important thing he does well.
He had 10 carries for 35 yards last week against Miami. Hedgecock has played some defensive end, but has also been a fullback for a couple of years at North Carolina. Scott again breaks it. He's into the backfield, and Chad Scott, 175 yards last week. That's a touchdown, Tar Heels.
Well, that answers your question early enough, Pam. They answered the bell. Scott with his scamper here. Couple missed tackles at the point of attack at the line of scrimmage, but once he gets into that secondary, there's no help behind.
Chad Scott goes 48 yards for the touchdown, his longest run of the season, and he is about as hot as any running back in the country, following up that great week last week against Miami with a terrific opening drive. Connor Barth, who kicked the game-winning 42-yard field goal last week against the Canes, knocks home the extra point. And what a way to respond, as you said, Mike. North Carolina off to a quick 7-0 lead thanks to the legs of Chad Scott.
And buy holiday gift certificates today.
Chad Scott runs 48 yards for the touchdown. North Carolina, the very first possession of the game, on top of Virginia Tech 7-0. It didn't take long, just 3 minutes. Scott, 66 yards of offense out of the 80, 54 on the ground, 12 through the air. And the final 48 for John Bunting, taking it in. And Virginia Tech will get the ball for the first time, down 7-0.
Well, they answered the bell. You could hear it in the background. A lot of movement, a lot of excitement in the stadium. It's still a hangover from last week.
And Barth squibs one out. One of the up men picks it up. It's Jeff King, a tight end, who has pretty good hands, and he's able to take it out to around the 28-yard line. Brian Randall is capping off a brilliant career quarterback for Virginia Tech. Not only does he hold a slew of school records, he graduated in only 3 years, and coaches can't say enough about him, Mike, as a model player and a person.
Well, he's as cool as the Carolina breeze. This Brian Randall. Coaches, like you said, Pam, they marvel at this guy. He's a student on the field, student off the field, and he directs the traffic.
Senior out of Williamsburg, Virginia. And Randall going to put it up, possibly. He's such a threat to run, but he throws it, and it is complete. Josh Hyman, redshirt freshman, picking up 15 yards on that catch. One of the several young receivers on this team, as John Bunting is arguing that he did not get the 1 foot down. And now it's been overruled.
Yeah, when you're moving fast to that sideline, look at that left foot, that left toe. He needs to have a size 8 instead of a size 12 to make that catch. But John Bunting, defensive-minded coach, he's right there on the sideline getting that back judge's face.
Good job by this ACC officiating crew. They conferred and decided that it was indeed incomplete, and it was. Good job by Hyman to try to get his foot in. But
and Frank Beamer, he's standing on the sideline. He wants an explanation because everything happened in front of Carolina's bench. And, you know, when you're on the other side of the field, 53 1/3 yards away, it looks like he was completed pass.
Frank Beamer in his 17th season at Virginia Tech.
He just wants an explanation. And he deserves that right. Here it is. Give it to him. He was out.
So the pass was incomplete, bringing up 2nd and 10 for the Hokies. Mike Emo in the backfield. Carolina's showing blitz, and they back off. And Randall, he's going down. Brian Randall wrapped up in the arms of Jeff Longhaney, the linebacker. And this North Carolina defense, much maligned, especially earlier in the season, and really they've been hit with a rash of injuries, a couple of suspensions. That's a big play.
Well, you could jump on this emotion here in the stadium when the offense sets the tone, but this sack was direct result of secondary. Jumping a quick hitch route on the outside and force a Randall, tuck it underneath, and line up for a 3rd down.
That is, in fact, only the 8th sack by the the North Carolina defense all season. 3rd and 13. Randall with time, zips it, and Hyman cannot hold on to it. So that time Hyman had one thrown right as at his hands. A flag comes down late.
There's a flag on the play.
There's some extracurricular activities in the secondary. Sense the ball on number 14. He's the guy that likes to be a headhunter out there. You might have a post-possession foul here.
That would be a terrible mistake, obviously, for North Carolina because they had the defensive stop.
Yeah, Randall snuck it into a tight situation there, but Hyman just lost concentration. Lets the ball get into his body.
Play, personal foul, number 14 defense. 15 yards from previous spot, automatic first down.
Well, Gerald Sensabaugh, as we talked about, the transfer captain for North Carolina's senior year. Watch number 14 as it comes in your picture. A little elbow to the back of the head. You know, that's football. That's strictly football. It's a collision sport. It's a contact sport. And they're just saying he played a little bit after the whistle, but no one got hurt. But the officials saw it differently. You got to control your emotions. Know where the situation is at the game. 3rd and 13. You can't hurt your team with a penalty.
And that one hurts them tremendously because it keeps Virginia Tech's drive alive. It would have been a 3 and out instead of 1st and 10 from the 40. Mike Emo, the diminutive tailback, gets a nice gain, about 8 yards on first down. Tommy Richardson and Brian Rackley teaming up to make the stop. Virginia Tech has a young but talented receiving core. True freshman Eddie Royal leads them with 18 catches, including an 80-yard touchdown in the Hokies' comeback win over Georgia Tech 9 days ago. Center Will Montgomery is the quarterback of an offensive line that has started to gel certainly into a solid offensive unit. This team averaging 33 points a game. Virginia Tech 6-2 on the season, 3-1 in the ACC. 2nd and 2. And Emo is taken down in his tracks. The ball is loose.
Yeah, he was down on contact. His knee touched, but if people want to see a player, number 14, Gerald Sensabaugh, very active in the secondary, very active as he moves towards the line of scrimmage. But Sensabaugh, number 14, he strips it, rips it, pulls it out, but he was down on contact. And I think North Carolina defensively is going to bring heat all day and force Randall to audible a lot. They're trying to get to the numbers game. We'll talk about that later, but they're trying to get a balance to run to the strength with a numbers standpoint on offense.
Randall has the power and authority to audible as much as he wants, and running off sides, jumping offside, Kendreas Guy. We'll have to see if he was drawn.
Before the snap, offsides by contact, number 74 defense. A 5-yard penalty will result in a first down.
To go back to the fumble here, Mike Emo trying to run with the foot. The ball's out already. I missed that earlier, but the initial strip happened by Jonas Seawright. Yeah, that ball's out. You know, it's interesting when the side judge comes in, he doesn't really have a good vantage point. He needs some help from the inside people.
Offsides against Carolina, so it's 1st and 10 for Virginia Tech. Both of their first downs today have come via penalty as Emo is able to squirt around the left side and get about 6 yards on first down. Looking at the North Carolina defense, only 2 senior starters. Tackle Jonas Seawright, you already saw him strip the ball as one of the seniors. He slimmed down in the offseason as a big-time contributor. Leading tackler Fred Sparkman suspended indefinitely, so junior Doug Justice steps into his middle linebacker spot starting for the 2nd straight game. And Gerald Sensabaugh spent 3 years at East Tennessee State. Their football program dissolved, so he was able to come here without having to sit out a year, and he's been a great senior leader, but has a 15-yard penalty on this drive that gave Tech a first down. And Mike Emo tackled by Sensabaugh, but not before he gets it down inside the 30 of first down for Virginia Tech. Cedric Holt made the stop for Carolina.
Let's go back to that no fumble call. Mike Emo run with the football. Look at the color of the pants. Almost is in sync with the football. The ball's in between his legs there. It's already out. The official sees one color constant, and he thinks the ball's in his arms the whole time. But there was a missed call. Great opportunity missed by North Carolina. But this Mike Emo He has good vision. He's a little running back, but he hides behind his lineman very well.
Listed as 5'7". Number 20 gets the pitch and gets outside. There's that burst in speed for Emo. A little change of direction. And Mike Emo is down at the 5-yard line. 24 more yards for Emo.
Good personnel grouping here. We got an unbalanced line over here. You only got a tackle and a guard back to the weak side. They run the option, which they do so well with Randall. There's no one on the perimeter. Once Emo gets the sideline, he's off to the races and getting extra yards after the initial contact.
And North Carolina did not handle the option well at all when they played Utah earlier this year. Utah racked up 669 yards of total offense in a 46-16 win. And Virginia Tech thought that they could kind of pull the same tricks in this game. Emo slips a tackle and then is taken down around the 5. Let's take a look at that game in Utah. Utah obviously a very good team, Mike, but they really had trouble.
No, certainly did. He's 700 yards, but watch the option. The key people here are the outside perimeter people. If they collapse inside, you're going to go ahead and run the option, but they don't have no pitch relationship. You get a quarterback here as they motion back in the backfield. So Virginia Tech knows that the option is a big asset for them today, and you're going to see the option probably run down here in the red zone as well throughout the field.
Alex Smith, the very talented quarterback for Utah, running the show.
700 yards of total offense, man. That's a good day's work.
2nd and goal now for Tech. And Emo walks into the end zone. A nice hole, and he realized that he didn't even have to run anymore. So Virginia Tech, helped along by a couple of North Carolina penalties, is on the scoreboard.
And you just outmanned them there. They had the numbers to the strong side of the formation. They pull the center, Montgomery out to the right, and they have a hole outside caved in, and Emo just used that good vision to cut inside. Nice job answering the bell here and responding to North Carolina's 7-point lead.
Brandon Pace, sophomore from Virginia Beach, ties it up right between the brand new goalposts. Mike Emo, a lot of good work there on that first drive. Over 50 yards on the ground for Emo, capping it off with this 5-yard touchdown run, and we're tied.
And Aflac. Ask about it at work.
We are back in Chapel Hill, and we've had a running back for each team do quite well on their opening drives. Mike Emo, 55 yards on the ground. And Virginia Tech's first drive capped off by a 5-yard touchdown run. Chad Scott with 54 yards on the ground so far. So Emo's winning 55-54 so far in that battle.
It's a 1-point game, but we're tied up here at 7-7. Again, the line of scrimmage for Virginia Tech and North Carolina. These guys are coming off the ball, good fundamentals, good leverage, and you can see a well-executed running play when everyone gets their pad level down.
Mike Mason, very talented kick returner, waits for Jared DeVelli's kickoff. And one part of being a good kick returner is to know when to not return it, and he does just that, Mike.
As we go back to the touchdown run by Mike Emo, watch the defense up front. They all stunt to the right, and the linebackers scrape to the left. But when they scrape, they don't attack the line of scrimmage. They attack it late and give Emo some run inside. But when you go inside to the pit, as a lineman defensively stun away, these linebackers aren't attacking the line of scrimmage, and that makes it for an easy run for Emo to get in the end zone.
Emo was not touched at all in this North Carolina defense, struggling to say the least. They were the 2nd worst in Division 1A last year, 505.2 yards a game. They're 116th again this year, giving up 493 yards a game.
Well, they're extremely suspect to a lot of big gains by the opposing offense, but still they got to stop the running game in order to win.
Chad Scott is hunted down from behind, picks up a couple as we go to Matt Weiner. Matt.
Bam Taco Bell takes us to Syracuse, where the Orange are at it with Pittsburgh, and Syracuse gets right to Walter Reyes. 46th career touchdown that ties him to the school record. Meanwhile, Florida State's made a kicking change this week. Gary Sismesha has a couple of them already as the Noles lead Duke 6-0 in the first.
All right, Matt, Florida State coming off that loss to Maryland. The first time the Terrapins have been able to beat Florida State. They have T-shirts printed up that they're selling now around campus at College Park to celebrate that.
Anything to generate revenue, Pam.
That's it. And a huge win, just like Carolina had the huge win over Miami last week. Swinging out to Jaworski Polak, their leading receiver, his first catch of the day as we head down to Dave Ryan.
Well, Pam and Mike, what was it North Carolina head coach John Bunting and his staff told us yesterday in meetings? Emotional game management so difficult for a relatively young team like this. After Chad Scott scored on the 43-yard touchdown, there were smiles everywhere on this Carolina bench. What a buzz with the great crowd here. But after the Mike Emo touchdown run, guys are going to hear a pin drop here in the Carolina bench. They need to know to keep their emotions up, especially in a tight game like this.
Well, Dave's right. There's a lot of emotion in this game. It's back and forth, ebb and flow. Whoever can match punch for punch at the end is going to be the winner.
John Bunting was concerned about how they would respond. They came out well, but a couple of penalties really hurt them on that Virginia Tech drive. 3rd and 4, zipped out. Polak goes up, brings it down, and that's a first down for North Carolina. Vincent Fuller makes his 3rd stop, but Polak did a good job going up and getting it, and Frank Beamer has done a terrific job. The winningest coach in Virginia Tech history, 4th among active coaches in wins, behind Bobby Bowden, Joe Paterno, and Lou Holtz, and an alum of Virginia Tech, and just as a class guy, too.
Well, we had the good fortune of visiting with Coach Beamer, and it's just a pleasure seeing these quality coaches in the college football ranks. And we get excited because they're quality people, and they're educating these kids and continuously teaching them.
Big hole on the left side, and Scott breaks another tackle and runs for another first down. 12 more yards for Scott. Now, coming into today, this really was a tailback by committee, and not necessarily by, because they wanted to with a lot of injuries.
Yeah, McGill's been a guy that's been injured most of the year, but Scott has filled the void. Lewis has filled the void. Obviously, Scott has been doing the workload the last couple of weeks, but when you get missed tackles by the defense, that accumulative yardage just benefits the offense. And until Virginia Tech puts their hat right on the numbers and knocks the snot out of them, these guys can continue breaking tackles.
And as you see, all 3 of those tailbacks have had a 100-yard game this year. As Durant, talented, what a tackle. As Darryl Tapp was able to grab Durant, who looked like he was running for a lot of open space.
Well, there's our Darryl Tapp, that lunch pail mentality guy that carries it to work every day. Durant had an opportunity for a big play there, but we talked about tackling, get your head into the numbers, wrapping and pulling down, and Tapp did a tremendous job there against Durant.
Tapp also a great leader on this football team, a junior from Chesapeake, Virginia. That's a 3-yard loss for Durant. Now 2nd and 13, and Jock Lewis, number 20, has joined Durant in the backfield. And Durant, instead of shoveling it over to Lewis, keeps it himself, and he gets nothing as we go back to Matt Weiner.
Hi, Pam. Michigan State at home against Ohio State. And look out, the Buckeyes have a Ginn. Ted Ginn on the reverse, takes the pitch, takes it 17 yards in for the touchdown. That's touch number 1 on the day. Here's number 2, the low punt. He fields it, and Ginn will house it from 61 yards out. His 3rd punt return for a score, and Ohio State up 14-0.
Thank you, Matt.
Well, thank you, Buckeyes.
I thought I saw a block in the back on that reverse.
Ain't no block in the back.
3rd and 10 now for North Carolina. And Durant, everybody covered downfield. Flag is down. I think we're going to have a hold against the heels as Dante Fields was thrown to.
Well, that's the great thing about Durant. He's such a scrambler. He has good vision. And he gets out of the pocket, and he's a playmaker. He's been doing it for so many years. Jaworski Polak and he are just a wonderful tandem of seniors on their final home game.
Holding, 76 offense. 10 yards to the previous spot. Repeat 3rd down.
Let's go back 2 plays ago where Darian Durant was out scrambling. Watch the latter part of the play. He brings that left forearm into Fuller's face mask. Boom! He pops him underneath. Talk about leverage there. There's some snot hanging from Fuller's face mask there. And Fuller's going to be sniffing some of that pneumonia, trying to get back in the game. But when you get a quarterback like Durant, who's got some power, explosion behind him, I think Vincent Fuller still might be down on Virginia Tech.
You can see him wincing there.
Fuller, shoulder,
yeah. Fuller already with 5 tackles on the day. And after the holding penalty, now 3rd and 20 for the Tar Heels.
I'll go ahead and say it, Pam. 3rd in the bus ride.
And Durant under duress throws it, and it is tipped away by James Griffin. Good pressure. Jonathan Lewis was all over Darian Durant, and the Heels have to punt. This is Kenan Stadium in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, coming off a huge victory over Miami last week, taking on Virginia Tech. And North Carolina now in a position to try to win 2 straight games again. They have not done that since 2001, which was John Bunting's first year. Also, the last year the Tar Heels made it to a bowl game.
Well, that's that whole consistency factor. You do it well one week, and you look terrible next week. Try to develop some consistency for Coach Bunting and all the players.
David Woldridge in. Oh, there's Beamer ball, but that's a penalty. They tried to block it. Instead, the punter goes down as the punt dies inside the 30.
You know, if that ball did hit the ground, I don't know if that is a penalty. It looked like that ball skipped into the punter's hands. You can contact the punter once it touches the ground. But you give Coach Beamer 10 days off, Pam. The kicking games can be upgraded tremendously. He's been doing it throughout his whole career.
In fact, 104 blocks and 209 games as a head coach. Almost every other game. This is game number 210.
You can say that again. 104 blocks and 208 games.
And 209 coming into today.
I mean, that's virtually incredible for a team to do that consistently over that many games.
Running into the kicker is refused. First down.
Yeah, it was only a 5-yard penalty, Pam, so it wouldn't have helped their cause out, but
so they take the result of the play. Virginia Tech tied up at 7 apiece with North Carolina as Vincent Fuller is helped into the locker room. We'll be back.
056 or visit our website to order a free DVD.
Virginia Tech and North Carolina tied up at 7 apiece here in Chapel Hill as Vincent Fuller, the talented safety for Virginia Tech, taken into the locker room. We'll have an update on that as soon as we can. Meanwhile, Virginia Tech last time had the ball, went 72 yards in 5.5 minutes, and were helped out by a couple of North Carolina penalties. Unusual because North Carolina averages fewer than 5 penalties a game. They had 2 big ones on that drive alone. Randall up top, and Hyman gets smacked as the ball sailed over his head. It's day 10 of 19 straight of primetime football at 7:45 Eastern on ESPN. Number 10 Miami tries to bounce back from losing to North Carolina as they host Clemson. That's also available in high definition. And on ESPN2 at 9:45 Eastern, Alex Smith and number 8 Utah takes on Colorado State. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Utah trying to start 9-0 for the first time ever and crash into the BCS party.
I've yet to see Utah on the road. They must have like 10 home games.
That's where North Carolina lost to them badly earlier this year. 46-16. Randall up top and sails it perfectly to Eddie Royal. Coming in with the catch, and Royal, the true freshman, gets a huge gain. 43 yards.
Well, Eddie Royal, he's a speed demon. Initially, I didn't think he'd be able to close in the ball, but when he gets out in space, there's no collision at the line of scrimmage. Look at that burst he has at the end. Young receivers, see how he kept on running and he didn't put his hands out until the last second? That's where you gain all your momentum and all your speed. Nice job by Eddie Royal, a young freshman, true freshman receiver for the Hokies.
Had an 80-yard touchdown catch in that great comeback win against Georgia Tech 9 days ago. And you're right, Mike, I didn't think he was going to catch up to it early either. And he was able to close in and make a nice grab. Huge game. And now Randall rolling. Gets into big trouble, and Randall goes down. Wrapped up by Brian Rackley. Second sack against Randall. Let's go down to Dave Ryan for more on Vincent Fuller.
Pam, as we saw earlier, Vinny Fuller, the starting senior free safety for Tech, left the field moments ago. Right shoulder sprain is what they're calling it here on the sideline. Being evaluated now, it's possible he will return. He's the team's 5th leading tackler and a defensive captain. So a big loss for the Hokies if he cannot come back.
Absolutely, and the coaches said he really is vocal, just a commanding force back there at free safety, very important position for Virginia Tech as they check out his right shoulder. Now 2nd and 12. Randall, this is where he's most dangerous. Brian Randall running for the first down.
Tell you, dangerous. Brian Randall, we talked about the option initially, but the Hokies see something here. Watch the pitch relationship, watch the man that forcing the pitch, but they have nobody filling as Randall turns upfield. Everyone's doing their responsibility, but the linebacker did a late job scraping to the outside. They're going to continue to run this play until they stop it, and I wouldn't be surprised if they came back with the same option, just the other way.
You see Randall's rushing numbers. He is second only to Mike Emo in rushing yards. He has a better average than Emo. First down, that's Justin Hamilton who is checked in at tailback, and he picks up a couple on first down as we go to Matt Weiner again. Matt.
Hi, Pam. Joe Paterno's Penn State team still looking for the first Big East win against Northwestern. This is Terrell Jordan, and Joe Pa's not going to appreciate that very much. Wildcats on top 7-0. Back to Pittsburgh and Syracuse. Panthers on the board. Raymond Kirkley does the honors, and that game is 7-6 and first.
Well, Matt, it's been a very long couple of seasons for Joe Paterno, as he mentioned, still trying to get that first win in the Big Ten this year. They still have Indiana on their schedule. That was for our producer, Bart Fox, proud Indiana grad, as North Carolina takes a timeout. And Frank Beamer's club.
I'm glad you said that, not me.
Threatening again. I know, he'll get me for it.
A little confusion by North Carolina on the defensive side. They were shuffling players in and out trying to match personnel.
So a timeout on the field, 42 seconds left in the first quarter. Virginia Tech threatening to score when we return. Not just Carolina blue in the stands, but a lot of the maroon and orange of Virginia Tech. About 10,000 Virginia Tech fans expected to show up for this game. Now on 2nd and 8, Mike Emo, the tailback, in front of John Kinzer, the fullback. But Randall's going up top. The third sack of the game for North Carolina. Gerald Sensabaugh comes in. This is a Carolina team that had 7 sacks in its first 8 games, and they have 3 already today.
Obviously, Marvin Sanders and John Gutekunst have disguised a game plan to get after Randall. If they're not getting pressure in the front, they're going to bring Gerald Sensabaugh up there, number 14. He's the playmaker. He's the guy who shoots a gap responsibility, and he just explodes right through the line of scrimmage. I'll tell you, this 14 has been a nice addition for this ball club.
Yeah, boy, what a treat, huh? You get a guy only for 1 year, but he came in with 3 great years at East Tennessee State under his belt, and the first quarter expires. The first play of the second quarter will be a 3rd and 18 for Virginia Tech. So this Carolina defense with some troubles over the season, but 3 sacks already on Brian Randall.
Celebrex. Joint pain relief. No more, no less.
We are on the campus of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. That is Ramesses the Ram. Yeah.
Is that real?
Not anymore. But this one is. He's in there somewhere.
He's got those hedges.
There he is, trying to keep cool. A beautiful day here, but in the sun, it's especially with the blanket on wall. That's double layering for the
he's trying to get
Ram.
the shade. Kind of cool down a little bit, get ready for a second quarter.
Boy, the fans are ready here at Carolina. 3rd and 18. Randall swings it out to Emo, and he is stopped well short even of the original line of scrimmage. Brian Rackley and Gerald Sensabaugh on the tackle. Let's go down to Dave Ryan.
Pam, the news is not good for senior safety Vinny Fuller. We mentioned he left the field with a shoulder sprain. It was, in fact, dislocated. Team doctors told me moments ago they popped it back in place. Now he is in an ambulance en route to a local hospital here in Chapel Hill for x-rays, and certainly Vinny Fuller done for the day.
And you're right, that's a crushing blow for this team. Really, the quarterback of that secondary is Brandon Pace comes in to try a 39-yard field goal.
He's got the wind behind him, too.
7 for 7 from that distance this year. Make it 7 for 8.
That doesn't help the cause out at all.
As Pace misses the field goal, and we stay tied up at 7 apiece. Pace's longest this year was 46 yards, but he misfires there from 39.
There was no No pop in that ball at all when his foot hit the football. You just heard it up here, kind of a dead pop. Usually you hear that bang when that kicker foot hits the ball, but didn't have a chance from the beginning. And that's uncharacteristic, though, for Frank Beamer. The kicking game is extremely interesting, and I was talking to Connor Barth, North Carolina's kicker. He attended Virginia Tech's 4th down camp for 2 years, and it was hosted at Virginia Tech, so they're very familiar with the kicking programs at both schools.
Connor Barth, the true freshman from Wilmington, North Carolina, the toast of the town for kicking the 42-yard field goal last week that beat Miami. Chad Scott, the other toast of the town, with 175 yards on the ground last week, picks up 4 there.
Nice thing about Chad Scott, he's got that little change of direction, a change of speed. You know, we always talk about blockers fast, runners smooth. Well, Chad Scott's got a guy that doesn't rush into the hole too quick. He lets the play develop, and then he gets behind his blockers and finds a seam.
You see a little slow moving around in the huddle. He also suffered a hip pointer in last week's win against Miami. Came back in and continued to play, but those are very painful injuries, and he seemed to be a little slow. But he gets the ball again. So much for the bad hip. Scott goes out of bounds. First down, Carolina. Here's Matt Weiner.
Speed. Wolfpack on top.
And when T.A. McClendon is healthy, he is, boy, what a force. And the ACC, what a logjam, Mike, around the middle and the top. Really, Duke is the only team that's dead in the water as far as getting to a bowl.
Yeah, these next couple of games are going to determine who's going to take the ACC title.
Virginia Tech, if they win out, they can do it. Up top, going long, the ball is tipped away. Mike Mason, the intended receiver, but the ball was tipped away at the last second by James Griffin, the senior from Memphis, Tennessee.
Well, Darian Durant has to get his head back to the safety. Quarterback find a safety, vision of linebackers. When the safety's in the middle of the field, his range is a lot less of field to cover. And when you throw the ball down the middle post in between the hashes, as we look here, watch the safety here. He just funneled back to the middle of the field. As the ball goes up in the air, he continues to run. His hips are turned that way, and it makes an easy play for him. So Darian Durant's got to find that safety as soon as the ball snaps.
Defensive coordinator Bud Foster singled out James Griffin when we talked to him a couple days ago for his great year. As Jaworski Pollock, the wide receiver, gets the ball and picks up 6. More on the ACC and the road to the title. Here are the remaining schedule for the one-loss teams in the ACC. And yes, Virginia Tech, if they went out, they would, by virtue of the tiebreakers, get the BC. They would win the ACC and get the BCS bid. But boy, that's not easy. First Carolina, then Maryland, Virginia, and you finish at Miami.
Yeah, December 4th. You know, with 12 games in their schedule, they open up against USC earlier in August, and it's a long year for this team.
Durant going backwards, puts it up, and he has his receiver. Wallace right, touchdown, Tar Heels.
Well, you live by the blitz and you die by the blitz if you're Virginia Tech. That time they brought the heat on Durant. Well protected, but there's no safety help behind it. They're going to bring people here. You got single coverage out here on the outside. A little rub route on the inside. Gets clear in the secondary. No help behind. Nice throw and completion with Durant. I mean, it's nice to see North Carolina respond like that. You got a missed opportunity by Virginia Tech missing a field goal. Now they come back and take the lead here.
There's a 49-yard pass play as Connor Barth adds the extra point. And Wallace Wright, number 29, coming into the game. That is his first catch of the season, and it goes for a touchdown. So Darian Durant, the senior on senior day, trying to go out in the style with a second straight upset.
Popcorn chicken, only $1.99. Party size $6.99. Now at KFC. Chicken capital USA.
Darian Durant has just thrown a 49-yard touchdown pass to Wallace Wright. Wallace Wright has 2 catches in his entire career, both of them for touchdowns. Caught a 17-yarder against Duke last year. That's his first catch of the year this season, Mike.
Well, he's got good hands. I know that. I mean, if you're going to throw it to him twice in his career, and both for touchdowns, Darian Durant's going to go over there and say, "You the man."
Mostly a kickoff returner for this team, but a diminishing role over the last 3 years. He's a walk-on. As Mike Emo is tackled down short of the 15. Let's go back to Matt Weiner.
Hi, Pam. Arkansas and 7-0. Georgia trying to keep their win streak going. Zeros at Kentucky. That one midway through the first.
Thank you, Matt. Wallace Wright again, a walk-on. He just got a scholarship before this season, scoring on a 49-yard touchdown catch. Carolina, can they do it 2 weeks in a row? Beat Miami last week, and they're on top of Virginia Tech right now. And Mike Emo, that's a gargantuan hole that the little guy goes through. And Emo tackled down hard. The ball is loose, but it goes out of bounds. Well, Virginia Tech holds on to it, 15 yards for Emo.
Well, that's twice today he's put the ball on the ground. One was a missed call. This one here, just a mental error, but not keep it in his pocket. But Emo, like you said, he hides well behind the lineman. He gets into the second layer, third layer, into the secondary. He's a hard guy to find. You know, he keeps those feet going, high knee drive. But the vision's the most important thing. Let's go.
Started off greatly in his career to Emo, had 100 yards against West Virginia, 115 actually, in his first career start. That was earlier this season. First Hokie to run for 100 in his first start since the great Kevin Jones in 2001.
They've had some great running backs at Virginia Tech, and you mentioned Kevin Jones, who did come out early. He'd still be here if he's a senior, but Mike Emo, a nice talent to have in the backfield.
Lee Suggs, also part of the recent history of great running backs. Cedric Humes with flags all over the place. Humes busted up the middle for what would be Virginia Tech first down, but probably coming back. And it is.
That's what North Carolina needed there. They needed to stop. And the penalty helped out their cause. That's one thing that North Carolina does well. They're not a really heavily penalized team.
Illegal motion, 32 offense. 5-yard penalty for previous spot. First down.
That's the carrier.
The same could be said for Virginia Tech. I think they're averaging 6 penalties a game, which is a pretty good number to have. But coaches like to see 0 penalties in a game, 0 turnovers. And that usually equates to a winning game.
Yeah, North Carolina among the league leaders for being the least penalized team in the country, but they had 2 big penalties on Virginia Tech's touchdown drive, including a late hit. Otherwise, it would have been a 3 and out, and Carolina would have gotten the ball back right away. 1st and 15 for the Hokies. Randall pressured again, but is able to complete it to Eddie Royal, and Royal is grabbed and taken out of bounds by Jacoby Watkins. Appears to be a little bit short of the first down.
I tell you, you cannot question his arm strength. Left hash thrown all the way across the field to the right. Tough competitor, tough athlete. But Eddie Royal, I mean, that's a big-time throw for Randall. But Eddie Royal, a true freshman, people, he's a playmaker. He's a guy for a long time, for the next 3 years at Virginia Tech. You're going to know this guy's name sitting in your living room.
Second catch of the day, already has 56 yards through the air. And some great, talented young wide receivers for this Virginia Tech offense, as a timeout is taken by Tech. Both teams down to 2 now. So North Carolina with the 14-7 lead. We'll be right back.
On Cherry.
We look at the campus at North Carolina, really Kenan Stadium, one of the nicest settings for any football stadium in college football. After the Virginia Tech timeout, 2nd and 1 for the Hokies. Emo is the tailback. And he gets it and gets the first down, slips down just short of the 45-yard line. Andreas Guy able to get a hand on him to get him down. We join you from Chapel Hill as North Carolina coming off its first ever win against a top 5 program. That was last week against Miami. Day 10 of 19 days of football on the 3 networks. And boy, Chad Scott doing it on the ground for North Carolina. Mike Emo, most of the damage for Virginia Tech, but Wallace Wright, a former walk-on, has scored on a 49-yard touchdown pass from Darian Durant. And Chad Scott's so good today, Mike.
Yeah.
He's outrunning the whole team. But Ryan Randall trying to put a dent in that as he takes it on first down He picks up about 3 yards.
You know, two contrasting styles of running, Mike Emo and Chad Scott. Chad Scott's more of a guy that lets the play develop before he darts into the hole, but Mike Emo, he takes that ball and runs quick as a cat the first opening he sees, and he's not a guy that second guesses his thought. He gets that thought in mind. He's done it so many times in practice, so many times in games, where he just trusts it and goes with it. And this game of football is built on trust. Trust the offensive line, trust your blocking, and trust what you see as a runner.
Brian Steinsford, the offensive coordinator, says he's a guy who turned a 5-yard gain into a 15-yard gain. Just the kind of guy you want. Randall finally has time, and that one is zipped incomplete. Intended for Josh Hyman. For more on the young receivers for Tech, let's go down to Dave Ryan.
Like Eddie Royal, who's been fantastic as a true freshman. Josh Morgan as well, Pam. They call themselves the big timers, and Royal certainly delivered in that game a week ago Thursday against Georgia Tech. Had the big 80-yard touchdown catch, and then another big play for Morgan, 51 yards to help eliminate the Yellow Jackets in that game. Guys with big-time plays like that, the big timers can call themselves anything they want, I think.
And I think so. In fact, his sister, Eddie's sister, Christina, also at Virginia Tech in the Corps of Cadets. So a very proud family representing Virginia Tech. Now on 3rd and 6, Tech 0 for 2 on 3rd down so far today. Randall with time, and there's the connection to Josh Morgan, the other true freshman that Rhino just talked about. First down catch, good for 12 yards.
You know, they have a good plan going to third down situations. You keep it 3rd and short. You allow your young receivers to run option routes in the inside. And Josh Morgan, I tell you, he and Eddie Royal, number 4, looks like Morgan got banged up a little bit at the end of that play. But, you know, these young receivers, the main thing for them is they're consistent week in and week out. And you think that since they're so young, they're not going to get it done.
Now on first down, Randall keeps it. Not much room on the left side as he is taken down by Jeff Longhaney, who has one of the 3 sacks today for Carolina. And there are the top 3 with their numbers.
Well, Hyman's the eldest one. He's the redshirted freshman. And, you know, one thing that you look at for a future for Virginia Tech, they do have the skill, they do have the talent level, but the mental capacity. Can they become students of the game as they move forward further in their career?
Hyman, in fact, is 21 years old. He went to prep school for a year and then redshirted last year. He's 21. He's older than Brian Randall, who is a senior quarterback who already has his bachelor's degree. As the other guys, of course, call him Grandpa, among other things. 2nd and 7, Justin Hamilton going down pretty much in his tracks. Tommy Richardson makes the stop. He gives himself a fist bump. Let's take a look at today's AFLAC trivia question. Today is Virginia Tech's first visit to Kenan Stadium since September 28, 1946. Which College Hall of Famer made his debut for North Carolina that day? We'll have the answer coming up shortly.
That's going back in time.
Oh, yeah.
Many years.
These two teams actually played a lot early on in the 20th century, but this is the first time they played since the 98 Gator Bowl today. Randall, time, zips it. There's Eddie Royal again. And Royal stretches forward to get an extra half yard or so. First down, Virginia Tech.
North Carolina secondary definitely respects these young receiving corps from Virginia Tech. They're not even getting up and cushion. They're staying back 8 yards, but give credit to the offensive line. Brian Randall, that particular play. You got Will Montgomery at center, James Miller, the right guard, John Dunn, the right tackle, doing a nice job of passing off the games that are inside with North Carolina defense, and they're giving Randall ample time to look down the field to the 2nd and 3rd receiver.
Which was not the case a lot earlier in the game. He's been sacked 3 times today. But on this drive, has gotten a lot more time, as you mentioned. Mike Emo in the backfield now on first down. Pressure coming, but Emo runs away from it. Flag is down. Emo is down about 2 yards away from the line of scrimmage.
That'll be coming back. I think they got the backside guard or tackle on a hold. It's an easy call for the umpire. It's exactly where he's looking, but, you know, to do a good job on 3rd down and then come back and have a penalty, put your team in a difficult situation. They call it chop block. So something you don't see much in college football if that's the initial sign.
Chop block, 66 offense, 15 yards from the previous spot. Repeat first down.
We've had a lot of talk in the NFL about chop blocks. Pittsburgh and Denver. Got the center here, Montgomery. Let's see what he does. He's pulling out in space, and he just turns back inside. You can't chop block when another offensive lineman's engaged with a defender. Good call by the umpire. That's how a lot of guys get hurt, but you see a lot of these college athletes wearing these knee braces, and that's because of potential knee damage through chop blocks and cut in the back of the leg.
Montgomery starting as a walk-on defensive tackle, as you saw, replacing All-American Jake Grove at center. Called for the chop, 1st and 26 now. Randall looking up top, going again towards Royal, who has been by far his favorite receiver today. His 4th catch of the day, and they're going to be about 9 yards short of the first down after that gain of 16.
These guys are like seasoned veterans. Max protecting, strong play action, zone fake. Randall knows exactly where he's going with the football. Talk about a game of inches. Jacoby Watkins, look at his body lane. He's got his shoulders down, no choppy steps, just good balance. Knows exactly where the sideline is. I mean, this guy's a true talent.
Look at the numbers so far for Eddie Royal. From that 1st and huge down now to 2nd and 10 for the Hokies.
Again, he's all over towards the number side, looking to come to the space down here on the left side. Rolling with this.
Emo sneaking his way through, gets around an official, and is tackled down, but not before he gets a first down. Kareem Taylor and Cedric Holt make the stop. Boy, Emo, whenever you see number 20, you think of Barry Sanders a little bit. Obviously, there's only one Barry, but he has that slippery, slidey little guy thing.
Well, that's his idol, Barry Sanders. ISO, just straight ahead, just a basic running play. When we get missed tackles and people running outside of their gap responsibilities, you're going to see number 20 dart inside and dart back outside as quickly as possible. But we talked about division. When he's got 180 degrees of vision, he can see over his right shoulder and left shoulder, and that's why he's able to make those cuts very quickly for him.
88 yards on 10 carries for Emo. And he gets another carry and slips a tackle. Emo showing some power as well as we go to Matt Weiner.
All right, Ben, we go back to Syracuse for Pittsburgh and the Orange. Syracuse knocking. Perry Patterson will dump off to Breon Evans, who finds his way in. Q's up 14-6. Nobody.
Back and forth game against Pittsburgh and Syracuse.
I guess that new name for Syracuse, orange.
Yeah.
Those uniforms.
They took it literally, didn't they?
They certainly did.
Everything's orange. The pants, the helmets, the shirts. And Emo, who's done most of the damage on the ground for Virginia Tech today, stopped just a little bit short of the goal line by Larry Edwards, a backup linebacker who's in for the Tar Heels. The rushing yards, you showed them to you a little while ago, that Chad Scott on his own was out-rushing Virginia Tech, but now Tech has taken the lead, and Emo at 99 yards.
You know, I think this offensive line and the running backs, they communicate so well. Offensive coordinator Brian Steinspring is the offensive line coach. Look at Emo. He gets more yards after initial contact than any player we've seen this year.
And Randall trying to take it in himself, and he does! Brian Randall takes it in for the Virginia Tech touchdown.
Well, they faced the option, North Carolina this year against Utah, and they had a tremendous job running the option Utah has, but North Carolina has yet to stop it. And if I'm a defensive coordinator, they have two core coordinators here. I'd make sure everyone knows their responsibility, knows it a second time, and knows it a third time, because this option can be very lethal if they don't stop it.
Brian Randall's second rushing touchdown of the season as Brandon Pace ties up the game. Only the 10th career rushing touchdown for Randall, which sounds a little bit low considering how dangerous he is on his feet. So Virginia Tech responds. Mike Emo does a lot of the work, but Brian Randall takes it in the final way.
The official truck of an American revolution.
Brian Randall taking a breather on the bench. He just took the Ball in from a yard out. He was 5 for 6 for 42 yards on the drive. They had up 7 minutes and 12 seconds. They went 86 yards in 14 plays to tie up this football game now at 14 apiece. A very impressive drive for the Hokies. Remember, they had the chop block penalty, and they had to come back for, I believe, a 1st and 26, and they took it on in and scored.
They've done a nice job converting on 3rd down as well. And I think when you look at Brian Randall, can he answer the question, can he play at the next level? Well, he's multifaceted. He's got a great talent. He impressed me with his arm strength, throwing from one hash all the way to the other sideline. So, in my opinion, I think he could play at that next level.
He certainly has the intelligence to do it. Kickoff taken by Mike Mason. And Mason reverses field. He gets a lot of oohs and ahs, but it's tackled down short of the 25-yard line by DJ Parker. Let's take a look now at the Aflac trivia question. Virginia Tech's first visit here to Kenan since September 28th of 1946. Which college Hall of Famer made his debut for North Carolina that day? And people, fans of North Carolina, will never forget Charlie Choo Choo Justice. Played here from 46 to 49. Yesterday, a statue was unveiled of the great Hall of Famer. They had that here yesterday afternoon.
Well, Choo Choo Justice set that trend with that haircut. He looks pretty... Got that big hold in that haircut, looking good.
Number 22 remembered here as Scott goes down and loses a yard. We go back to Matt Winan.
6 with 4 minutes and change to go in half.
So Pittsburgh in a bit of a hole now against the very orange. And Wyatt Sexton benched, lost to Maryland, and now Chris Ricks is back at Florida State. Jaworski Pollock gets it for a couple-yard gain, and now this is... I'm sorry, Jesse Holley, number 9, made the catch. The sophomore from Roselle, New Jersey. That is his 3rd catch. Xavier Adibi is a terrific football player, Mike, a very highly recruited player. And he came back from an injury. He was hurt in the opening day against Southern Cal, tore his biceps, and is back playing. He's been in on 2 plays today and has 2 tackles.
Yeah, most players are not even seeing the field this year, but he's a guy that gets...
Oh, you could see that one coming. Jimmy Williams picks it off for Virginia Tech. And the Hokies will take over inside the 25, Mike, and you saw that one coming all the way.
Yeah, as a former quarterback, you kind of get those O's. You know, I wish I had that one back. And Darian Durant, he's playing well this whole first and second quarter, but what happens is defender here just sees everything happening in front of him. He only had 1 defender out on 2 receivers. And Darian Durant, that's a ball that probably shouldn't have been thrown, but his vision, again, he needs to find where he's going with the football and make sure there's nobody in his throwing path. A nice pickoff by Jimmy Williams. He just played center field there in that interception.
Williams' 3rd interception of the season. It's the 8th thrown by Durant. And Virginia Tech, terrific field position as they take over at the 24. Justin Hamilton wrapped up. Still picks up about 3 yards as we go down to Dave Ryan.
So, Pam, the question is with Xavier Adibi, how in the world did he come back just 6 weeks after tearing a bicep? Mark Siegel is the team physician who actually performed the operation. A very unique procedure, doctor. How did it work?
What we did was Xavier tore the long head of the biceps, allowing it to slip down. And what we did was made a hole in the bone up in his shoulder area, brought the tendon back down into the hole, and then we use it's called a biotenodesis screw that holds the tendon into the bone, and then this dissolves, giving this strength, which allowed him to get back a lot earlier than predicted.
How did he come back so fast in terms of the strength, and was there a danger in returning so soon?
Xavier felt real good. He had good range of motion. He had great strength. Like we told him before he came back, the only danger would be for this to pull out again. And so far, he's been doing well.
Thanks so much for your time, Pam.
You're welcome.
Comes from a great football family. His brother Nathaniel is a rookie for the Jags, and Bud Foster, the defensive coordinator, they can't say enough about the potential for Adibi, for Xavier.
That's a remarkable story to come back not only from an injury, but come back so quickly with a difficult surgery.
Torn biceps, usually that is curtains for your season as Emo cuts back. And it is taken down around the 12-yard line by Kareem Taylor, who's been busy from a safety spot, but 6 more yards for Emo.
You know, Virginia Tech sets up the options so well, Pam. What they do is they get the spacing out on the field by the receivers. They go to a slot formation or they run to the tight end side, but they make North Carolina spread out as much as the receivers spread out. And it gives them a two-way go. If Randall decides to turn up the field because the pitch or the guy that takes the quarterback, if not, you can go ahead and pitch it to Emo. But the option play, if you don't see it all the time, it could be a potential problem.
Emo has 112 yards today on the ground. Randall zips it out. A little bit too much zip on that pass, though, to his fullback, Jesse Allen. A couple of good running backs in this game, and Mike Emo and Chad Scott. Emo, as we mentioned, over 100 yards, 14 carries for 112, and Chad Scott knocking on the door of a second straight 100-yard effort for North Carolina. Both of them have a touchdown as well, but right now, Scott wishes his team had the ball as Tech is driving. 3rd and 4. Randall again changes things up. Emo, nowhere to go this time as the Carolina blue shirts converge. Brian Rackley among those in on the stop.
It's almost as if North Carolina's defense was in the offensive huddle of Virginia Tech. They knew exactly where they were going with the football in that stretch play.
Timeout is taken here by North Carolina, and on that last play, Emo got the ball. He was stopped, and we'll be back. Virginia Tech trying to add on to their point total.
Because everyone deserves a shot.
Fourth down here for Virginia Tech with $1:18 left to go in the first half. A timeout was taken. Brandon Pace coming onto the field late as he will attempt a field goal. He missed from 39 yards out early on here in the second quarter for Frank Beamer.
I like that timeout by Coach Bunting. Reserve some time in the clock. They had a running play on 3rd down. Coach Beamer will let that clock run down, but Coach Bunting decided to take a timeout and preserve an opportunity for his team.
24-yarder for Pace. He's 5 for 5 from this distance on the season. High snap, but he gets it down and gets it through.
There's that thud I was talking about. Thud off the foot into the end zone.
And Virginia Tech takes its first lead as we take you back to Matt Weiner.
All right, Pam, coming up on the Pontiac High Performance Halftime Report, the Seminoles make changes at quarterback and at the kicking position with mixed results so far. We'll show you what's happened. Cats and dogs playing together. Georgia tries to keep up one of the more remarkable road streaks in college football. Plus, with Purdue preparing to play Iowa this afternoon, we ask what has happened to Kyle Orton. It's all coming up at the half.
Well, one thing that's happened to Kyle Orton is Purdue has played some pretty good teams over the last few weeks, some pretty good defenses.
Yeah, for 3 weeks in a row. Now they got Iowa, another tough opponent today. But, you know, Kyle Orton just got off to a quick start. And, you know, it's not so much him, it's the people around him. He's been getting hit a lot more, and he hasn't been really safe with the football under his arms.
Always give you quarterbacks too much blame, right?
And they get too much credit, too, man, to be honest. It's a thankless position. I mean, you know, when you choose to play quarterback, you know exactly what you have to do. You have to take the good with the bad.
Coming up, 19 days of primetime football continues. This is day 10. Sylvester Croom and the Mississippi State Bulldogs take on Alabama. 6:30 Eastern time tonight on ESPN2. Started off with College Football Saturday primetime. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. And of course, Croom is going back to Alabama, not only his alma mater, but last year, Alabama hired Mike Shula over Croom to take over that somewhat embattled program, and Sylvester saying all the right things, saying that he doesn't look at it as he doesn't want to take it out on them. Obviously, he's excited to go back to Alabama, but boy, he got that huge win over Florida, and now he tries to do it against Bama.
I'm extremely happy for him as a former coach of mine up at the Detroit Lions. What a class act. Doing nice things down there at Mississippi State, and we wish him well tonight.
Look who's back to get the kick. It's Wallace Wright, number 29, the young man who caught a touchdown pass, a 49-yarder earlier today. But there's no return as Tremaine Goddard actually collects the kickoff. So North Carolina, with 1:13 left in the half, trying to at least draw even with Virginia Tech.
Well, their mindset right now, Pam, is get across the 50-yard line. First, get a first down to stop the clock, but get across the 50-yard line and maybe take a shot with Durant going down the field, but they got a tremendous field goal kicker we experienced last week.
Xavier Deeby out there now for Virginia Tech again. Great young talents on this defense.
It'll be interesting to see what Gary Tranquil does, the offensive coordinator, with his field position.
And Chad Scott, nice move to get around the initial would-be tackler. Keeps the clock running, though, as he does not get out of bounds. He gets 6 yards on first down. And North Carolina trying to win back-to-back football games. This is amazing. They've not won back-to-back games since 2001. That was the season, their last winning season, the last time they also went to a bowl game. And for Virginia Tech and Frank Beamer, because Florida State lost last week to Maryland and because Miami lost to North Carolina, Virginia Tech can win out its final 4 games. And if they do that, they are the ACC champions and they grab the BCS Bowl berth. Boy, Chad Scott continuing to run hard. Deeby and Jonathan Lewis making the stop. 7 yards for Chad, and he is over 100 yards for the second straight week.
Back-to-back weeks, that's what North Carolina's trying to do, Pam, is become consistent, win a game after a game. But Chad Scott's answering the call, having back-to-back over 100-yard rushing. I just like this shake that Chad Scott has. And he's got a nice shake about him, and just seems like he knows where he's going with the football. And
the fans, you can hear them grumbling. They want to know why Carolina has let the clock continue to run. Durant takes off with it, and he is tackled down around the 38. Tackled down by James Griffin.
Well, that poor clock management. They had a minute 13 when they got the ball back, and only able to run 2 plays in that amount of time. They had confusion on the sideline. What personnel groupings? They initially started out in a pro set with 2 backs, a tight end, and 2 receivers, and then they switched to that spread set, and they didn't have it communicated very well. But they had ample time on the sideline to communicate what they wanted to do, but maybe these young guys aren't listening that well.
They have taken their final timeout, did have 1 timeout, but nothing was run. I mean, Scott was close to getting out of bounds and failed to kill the clock that way, but everything was run sort of in the middle of the field, and you could hear the fans at Kenan Stadium. Remember, they got the ball back with a minute 13 left to play, and now down to only 6 seconds, and they are at the 39-yard line, their own 39, with no more timeouts.
Yeah, maybe the offensive coordinator went down in the elevator with a minute 13 left, knowing that they're going to run out.
And then Gary Tranquil is the offensive coordinator, 4th year here, 43rd overall as a coach in both college and NFL football, and he is not in this picture right now. Usually up there, and as Mike mentioned, when you get late in the halves, the coaches all come down on elevators so they can meet up in the locker room and get their adjustments done.
But the bottom line is, Pam, they have coaches on the sideline that can call plays just as well, and they got Hal Hunter, the offensive line coach, Gary Tranquil, the quarterback coach. But that's something you have to rehearse. You got a minute 13, you call a timeout right before the field goal, preserve time, but you don't use it to your benefit. But they're no danger. 17-14, they're probably going to chalk this one up for experience and learn from it, and hopefully it won't hurt them as we get later in the game.
Right, and I certainly wasn't blaming Tranquil on that. As you're right, it just happens, and there are backups to that because the guy isn't going to be up in the box, and there should be a game plan.
Yeah, I mean, hey guys, I'm going down. I'll meet you in the locker room. Well, if that's the case, the guy on the sideline should pick up the play calling and make sure everything's communicated properly.
So 2nd and 4, but just 6 seconds left and no timeouts for Carolina. The ball is zipped out to Jaworski Polak, and that's not going to do much either. 2 seconds left. They do pick up a first down.
That's exactly what they wanted to accomplish, though, Pam. They wanted to hit that bubble screen out, preserve some time. 2 seconds. Durant's got a strong arm. Why not throw it 60 yards, 65 yards into the end zone and hope for good things?
We already saw that he could air it out earlier in this game. He threw a 49-yard touchdown pass to Wallace Wright, hit him on the dead run. And now 1 more play for Carolina.
And they go through all their substitutions. They call this lineup Big Ben. Everyone has a different tag for it. Big Ben, Flood Wright, whatever you want to call it, but Virginia Tech knows they're going down the field.
Jared Hall is the quarterback, the stronger arm than Darian Durant. He's in for the Hail Mary. And he throws it in. It's tipped and incomplete. Jimmy Williams able to tip it away, but Jarrell Mitchell was dangerously close to the tip. A good first half of football. Carolina down 17-14. Let's join Matt Weiner for the Pontiac High Performance Halftime Report. In fact, Virginia Tech with that field goal, able to take the lead for the very first time today. And again, a huge game for North Carolina, have to win 2 of their last 3 in order to become bowl eligible. And Virginia Tech, conversely, if they run the table and win their last 4 games, they are the ACC champions.
And keep in mind, it is senior day, and it's the last 30 minutes the seniors are playing this stadium for North Carolina.
Virginia Tech gets the ball first. Mike Emo, a good running back and a heck of a returner as well. A late flag comes down as he is stopped just short of the 30-yard line. Emo had 1 kick return for 8 yards in the first half. That was for a whole lot more, but we'll check the flag. Holding against Tech. Let's go down to Dave Ryan. Dave.
All right, well, Frank Beamer, the Virginia Tech coach, Pam, talking about Mike Emo, one of the subjects in his halftime chat with me a few moments ago, concerned about the couple of fumbles Emo had, considering it has not been a problem for him. Defensively, he's worried about that blown coverage that led to a touchdown, better tackling. Offensively, they felt pretty good about the pacing, especially on the option game. As for John Bunting, boy, was he intense, guys, coming out of the halftime locker room. He said, we need high levels of energy. We cannot be flat. His biggest concern, stopping the option game of Virginia Tech. If there are blown assignments with Brian Randall running the option, could be huge yards for the Hokies in the second half.
Yeah, something that Coach Bunting, I'm sure, addressed very thoroughly in the locker room. We'll find out here in the second half, but he'll get in your face pretty easily.
Bunting, a terrific linebacker, both here at North Carolina and in the National Football League. As Emo spins away and keeps going. Mike Emo, that is unbelievable. Emo finally chased and pushed out of bounds at the 39-yard line, but Emo 46 incredible yards.
Yeah, Coach Bunting, obviously that talk didn't sit too well with the players. The first play of the second half, you get a guy that has a mindset, I'm not going to be tackled by 1 guy, 2 guys, spinning, turning. You know, this guy here, forget about the option. I would just figure a way to stop number 20. You got to hit him low. You got to take his legs out on him, because you hit him up high, he's got that leverage where he's going to be underneath you all the time.
A career-high 47-yard run for Emo, now up to 152. He takes a break, and Cedric Humes, who was the starting tailback at the beginning of the year, giving way to Emo, he is now in the game, and he gets the ball. Humes cutting it against the grain, and you hear the Virginia Tech fans yelling out, Humes. He's close to a first down. Take a look, or mention it, North Carolina, 209 yards, and Virginia Tech usually only giving up about 275 per game. So Carolina really moving the ball well, Mike.
Well, they're moving the ball well, and their 2 scores were just 2 big strikes, one by Durant and the other one by Scott, the long run. And one thing that North Carolina hasn't done is sustain long drives. Well, when you score in big plays, Pam, forget about the long drives, and that's what North Carolina's defense has done, is made Virginia Tech drive at least, minimum of 80 yards, or maximum of 80 yards, to go ahead and take a 17-14 lead.
Humes' run was indeed for a first down, and in the first half, Virginia Tech put together a 10-play, 72-yard drive that was 5 minutes and 25 seconds, and then he had an 86-yard drive that was 7:12. So a couple of nice, healthy drives for Virginia Tech, and Dave Ryan was talking about Mike Emo fumbling. He was credited with 1 fumble, and they were able to recover it, but there was another time when Virginia Tech was actually lucky to hang on to the football in the first half. Most importantly, they have a 17-14 lead, and they're doing damage on this first drive of the second half. Humes right back at you. It's Tommy Richardson makes the ankle tackle. Richardson now with 6 tackles on the afternoon.
These other running backs are seeing the success that Mike Emo has had this afternoon. They're looking for that cutback. They'll go straight ahead in the point of attack, and then they'll look to the right or left to see where the best lane is for him. But as Emo checks into the lineup, if I'm Coach Bunting, I'm going to make sure somebody steps up. You're going to see number 14, Sensible, crowd the line of scrimmage a lot more and try to nullify those long runs.
So Emo back in with 152 yards on the ground so far. And they go right back to number 20. He does the same thing, cutting against the grain and picking up another first down. Whitten Person, making the tackle.
These linebackers need to step up, Pam. They underestimated Emo's speed. As he darts to the outside, your pursuit angles, these linebackers here, as he cuts back, you got to take your pursuit angle right to the sideline. You can't think that you're going to catch this guy, the pursuit angle isn't up in the line of scrimmage. The pursuit angle is towards the sideline and force everything back inside to the middle.
Virginia Tech has had 5 possessions today, and all 5 times they've gotten into the red zone. In the previous 4, they've gotten 2 touchdowns, a field goal, and a missed field goal. Randall falling down with the football before he's able to get rid of it. Like he tripped up on one of his offensive linemen and went down.
Yeah, usually that happens, either the false step by the quarterback when he comes away from center, or the right guard. Actually, yeah, it's the right guard stepping on his foot. Number 76, James Miller. And that's just one of those things. Every quarterback has had that happen to him once or twice in their career. It's embarrassing, but the most important thing is ball security. Don't do anything stupid with the football.
Able to hang on to it, loss of 3, 2nd and 13. Randall's first pass of the second half. Nope, he doesn't get it off. For the 4th time today, Randall is sacked, 2 of them now, by Gerald Sensabaugh.
Now, Gerald Sensabaugh, we talked about how he's going to start to get edged towards the line of scrimmage and become the 9th guy in the box, but he's just playing games with everyone. He knows what he's doing. No one accounts for him, and he just closes in on the quarterback. An impact player in defense. He did a lot in the first quarter. In the second quarter, he stayed back in the secondary because of Emo's long runs.
4 sacks for North Carolina. They had 7 in their first 8 games, 4 of them today, and now 3rd and 20. Randall holding on to it and is dragged down at the 19.
Nice stop by North Carolina's defense. You force things on 2nd down, you get penetration in the backfield and force them to a 3rd and long and bring the field goal unit on the field. That was a design quarterback draw all the way. Didn't want to do anything dangerous with the football. And he only has 6 completions, in the first half, Brian Randall, and 4 of those have gone to Eddie Royal.
6 of 11, 99 yards. Did have a 43-yard pass. That was his longest of the day. This is our 3rd look now at Brandon Pace. He missed from 39 and hit one from 24. This one is from 36. And Virginia Tech extends its lead. So Tech gets the football to open up the second half. More chunky yardage from Mike Emo, and they now lead North Carolina by...
American Century Investments. Genuine results.
Virginia Tech adding on to its lead thanks to a 36-yard field goal by Brandon Pace. North Carolina about to get the ball for the first time here in the second half. Carolina trying to win back-to-back football games for the first time since 2001, John Bunting's first season here at Chapel Hill.
It'll be interesting to see what kind of adjustments they make in the locker room coming out in the second half. Gary Tranquil has talked to us yesterday about his game planning, coming out of the locker room. He'll chart 12 plays. In the first half, he charged 15 plays, but he has his shots to take and some trickery still left in the game plan.
Mike Mason gets it at his 10 and is taken down just short of the 25. Good tackle by Brandon Manning, one of their linebackers, and then a scuffle breaks out around the 30-yard line.
Not a smart play.
A flag comes down.
Not a smart play at all.
Virginia Tech taking on North Carolina. Pam Moore joined by Mike Tomczak and Dave Ryan. As Virginia Tech takes on North Carolina. North Carolina coming off probably its biggest win in history as they took out Miami last week. And you see great rushing games. Both of our starting running backs over 100 yards.
Yeah, it's been a running back tandem today on both sides.
Correction. It's against the receiving teams. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
Offsetting personal foul penalties because of the scuffle that happened at the end of that kickoff return. John Bunting actually in a lot of hot water earlier on in this season for North Carolina as they struggle. Really, it was when they lost to Louisville 34-0 at home to drop to 2-2. And again, they have not had a winning record since 2001, his very first season, when he had many of Paul Torbush's players. But boy, what a win against Miami last week, Michael.
Well, not only win against Miami, but the win against in-state rival NC State. I mean, that's something that you can hang your hat on as a coach. especially when you're living in Carolina.
But now North Carolina trying to build as Chad Scott, another flag is down. Scott taken down around the 15-yard line, picked up about 5 or so.
Yeah, they had a couple penalties there. I think some guys got grabbed pretty big time in the back of their jerseys. I think Justin Phillips pulled around there, number 95. He was grabbing somebody, but you can't hurt yourself. I mean, this game is built on emotion, and then when you let the mental part, you know, you do ineffective things in the mental part of the game where you can control. I don't need to hold this guy in a running play, and Pam, as you know, that's my pet peeve.
Yep.
No holding calls on running plays. I'd rather be 2nd and 11 than 1st and forever.
Holding, 44 offense. After this, it's the goal.
There's now 5 penalties against North Carolina. They only had 37 the entire year coming in, and averaged, as you see, under 5 per game, which is one of the best really in the country at that.
Inopportune times, I'm sorry, Pam, inopportune times, you're back in the shadow of your end zone. You can't do that stuff.
And the 2 penalties that kept Virginia Tech's first touchdown drive alive. Otherwise, it would have been a 3rd and out, a 3 and out, I should say. And then take your pick. There's a lot of Virginia Tech fans towards the back of the end zone, and they're being egged on by some of the players to keep making noise.
Before the snap, false start, 78 offense. Half the distance to goal.
Right, let's take it back to Matt Weiner. Matt.
20-0 headed to half.
Bulldogs on their way to get another win as Scott gets the carry. As, boy, penalties really hurting North Carolina on that possession.
It's extremely important for this offense to realize if we don't get the first down, don't do anything foolish with the football. You're still in this ball game 20-14. Again, you're in the shadows of your own end zone. You can't do anything stupid here with the football. Because Virginia Tech's just waiting for them to throw it to them or put it on the ground.
And they've made their living under Frank Beamer on non-offensive touchdowns. They have 5 of them already this season. 2nd and 16. Grant rolls, throws it up, and throws it away. Justin Phillips, a backup tight end, was the closest Tar Heel to the pass.
Well, that play had not much success written all over it. You get your tight end, number 95, Justin Phillips, you know, not one-on-one. They had 2 defenders back there after the play fake. Durant just threw it out of bounds, did a smart thing, tried to line up for another down on 3rd down.
3rd and 16, and there you see Virginia Tech, 44 non-offensive TDs since '99. Only Miami has more, and Tech has 5 of them this season. They're always lurking. The Hokie defense and certainly the Hokie special teams. And on 3rd and long, Durant takes off, and Durant goes down. Maybe picked up 3. Jonathan Lewis makes the stop, and Tech should get the football in very good field position.
Well, Jonathan Lewis did a nice job there shedding the blocker, keeping his inside arm free to pull down Darian Durant. I tell you, Virginia Tech came out of the 2nd half. Not only did they have the football and drove down the field and got the field goal, they're setting a tempo here in defense. They're going to have great field position unless this guy booms one to the other end zone.
And let's see if they're, they got 10 guys on the line of scrimmage going after David Wooldridge, only his 2nd punt of the day. Knuckleballs it towards Eddie Royal. Royal gets a great block and then goes backwards. Fumble. I think Virginia Tech has fallen on it yet again. But it looked like Darryl Tapp was out there with a monstrous block. Anyway, good field position for Tech. They have the lead in the ball when we come back.
And Volkswagen. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers.
Let's go look at the bell tower, which sits just to our left, right outside of Kenan Stadium. Virginia Tech, terrific field position. 1st down from the 44 of North Carolina. Brian Randall swinging it out to Justin Hamilton. backup tailback, and he only picks up about a yard. Gerald Sensabaugh on the tackle. Let's find Dave Ryan.
All right, Pam, thanks a lot. Joined by Darian Durant's dad, Israel, and I had to pull you out of the concourse where you couldn't sit with your wife Betty to watch in your normal seat. Why are you so nervous during the game, Israel?
I'm always nervous. He's playing a position, that's really critical, and I get nervous. I just can't sit down and watch the game.
How has he changed and matured as a person in his 4 years here in Chapel Hill?
Well, he's much more mature now. He realizes all his responsibility team-wise, at home and in school, too, especially in school.
As we watch this play for Virginia Tech, he's taken a lot of criticism and a lot of heat with the media and the fans here about not bringing North Carolina to a bowl game. How much would it mean to him to get the Heels back to a bowl this year?
Well, it's important to Darian to get to a bowl game this year for the program, for Coach Bunting, for everyone involved. I mean, his main purpose this year is to lead this team to a bowl game, and hopefully we'll get that.
What's it like to watch your son throw a touchdown pass? We just saw the highlight from that first half touchdown strike.
Hey, I love it. I've watched it. I don't know how many times, 60, 65 times? I can't remember how many, but each time it's just as good as the first one.
Well, go back to your spot. When I get the ball back, I know you can't be watching from your seat with your wife. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Timeout is taken here as Israel Durant can barely stand to watch, and I can imagine it's got to be some tense times, as that is 62 career touchdown passes for his kid Darian. Timeout. We'll be back.
How to order.
Fitness made simple, improving the bodies and lives of men and women everywhere.
Virginia Tech up on North Carolina by 6. They have the ball on the 33-yard line on a first down. Mike Emo in the backfield, over 100 yards on the ground to both he and Chad Scott, his counterpart for Carolina. And Emo picks up about 5 more. Tommy Richardson and Kareem Taylor making the stop.
Pam, that's just a basic run play. The misdirection with the fullback going weak, but running back to the right side.
Roy Williams has been successful, of course, at Kansas, and now the head men's basketball coach at North Carolina, trying to bring him back into prominence. He's a huge football fan. In fact, John Bunting said that last week, after the win against Miami, Coach Williams, because there was so much craziness on the field, it took Bunting about 50 minutes, almost an hour, to get into the locker room and have access to Roy Williams, and Roy waited for him because he wanted to congratulate him on such a huge win. Williams, a huge supporter of football, also, the women's basketball program here, just a great asset to this university. It's just a matter of time, and some people think I think Dick Vitale said they're his preseason #1.
Well, they look pretty strong. I know they had a game last night. I'm sure they won the game, but these coaches, they know the pressure they're under. They know the camaraderie, with the players on their team and everything. But the bottom line, Coach Williams loves football, and he loves his program, and he's supporting everyone here. I mean, he's as much a part of this program, being the basketball coach, as he is part of the football team.
And that was a look at last week as Williams was up and cheering. The 42-yard field goal by Connor Barth to beat Miami. First time North Carolina has ever beaten a top 5 team, ever.
That's a big word, ever.
Now trying to beat a number 18 team. 1st and 10 from the 23. Emo again. Oh, man, he gave Gerald Sensabaugh a little look at himself and then took it away and got another nice gain.
Coach Marvin Sanders, the co-defensive coordinator, and John Gutekunst, they're going to get these guys on the sideline and tell them they're running a base play. There's misdirection with the fullback weak side, and they're just leading Emo up on the right side. The linebackers could see it. There's no misdirection interiorly, so they've got to attack the line of scrimmage a lot better and force the play.
Virginia Tech going inside the 20. Every time they've had the football, they have a couple of touchdowns, a couple of field goals, and a missed field goal. And why not? Go right back to Emo. And this time Emo cannot get away. Jonas Seawright, senior from Orangeburg, South Carolina, along with Tommy Richardson, making the stop.
It looks like Virginia Tech, on the other hand, Brian Steinspring, he's going to simplify his play calling, Pam. If it works well one side, he's going to flop the formation, let the fullback do a little misdirection, blocking a weak side linebacker, just let Emo pick a hole.
In fact, Brian Randall has only thrown 1 pass here in the second half.
This guy's calm and collective, a tremendous leader for this ball club. But Brian Randall has really come into his own this past year.
And another first down for the Hokies. Brian Steinspring now in his 3rd year as offensive coordinator and his 12th overall on this Virginia Tech staff. And they're all thrilled to be in the ACC, and the coaches were like, no, with all due respect to the Big East, that they enjoyed Mike Tranghese, the commissioner there, and they're staying in the Big East, but they said, you know what? When Miami left, we wanted to leave, and logistically, Mike, being in Blacksburg, Virginia, they are bus rides away, and therefore so are their vociferous fans. You know, they're bus rides away now, and it's really a great move for them. Emo again, huge hole on the right side, another touchdown. Mike Emo scores for the 2nd time today.
You know, Brian Steinspring, who's the offensive line coach as well as the offensive coordinator, very uncommon for the line coach to be up in the box, but he feels pretty content with his offensive line. Just watch a lead ISO here. Let's see how these linebackers react defensively. They stunt themselves out of the play. Why he's doing that, I don't know. And the running back just runs where the linebacker's stunted out of. I'm not fundamentally sound defensively. They were a little bit in the first half, but Virginia Tech is just picking their spots and going at them.
Brandon Pace adds the extra point, and Mike Emo is now over 200 yards on the game. 202 yards for Emo, 26-14 Tech.
Spice things up all day, all night.
Mike Emo continues to build on his career-high day, now 21 rushes for 202 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's the 7th time in Tech history that a running back has gained 200 yards. The last to do so, Kevin Jones, 241 last year. That was a school record against Pittsburgh. And Emo is only 39 away from tying that today, and we have plenty of time left.
We'll give credit to the offensive line. I mean, across the board, these guys average, 310 pounds. Guys like Montgomery and Murphy and Martin and Miller and Dunn. You got the M boys and Dunn at the right tackle. But the fullback, Dinger's doing a nice job. They just know exactly what they're doing. They have a good plan and they're executing.
Kenan Goddard with the fake reverse holds on to the kick. And he takes it into Virginia Tech territory. The kicker made the stop. Let's go back to Matt Weimer.
Hi, Pam. Chris Ricks got the start today for Florida State, but Wyatt Sexton took the ball after halftime. And you see the nice adjustment from Sexton. The sophomore steps up in the pocket, finds C.C. Davis. Florida State up 19-7. 5 minutes to go in the 3rd.
All right, Mike, what do you think about that? Little musical chairs at quarterback now for Florida State.
Well, it certainly is. I mean, you thought they'd be settled with Chris Ricks going back in there to start when Wyatt Sexton struggled, but Bobby Bowden needs to win football games, and that's the bottom line.
First down for North Carolina, and more flags are down. The lineman, looks like Willie McNeil got up early. Boy, and this is, again, a team that has been great at not getting penalized.
Quarter snap, ball start, 76 offense, 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
Let's go back now to the kick return. Tremaine Goddard gets it for Carolina.
And put yourself as the ball carrier here as he takes the ball on the 12-yard line, faking the reverse. He just finds a seam and just goes straight line up the field. But all his buddies are going to tell him about one thing. Don't ever let the kicker catch you. Kick your feet out of there. And this is a must-scoring opportunity for North Carolina on offense, whether it's 3 or 7. They have great field position in a short field.
Jared DeVelli was the kicker making the stop. Durant up top, had a guy wide open. He found him. That was Pollock. And now one of the officials in the back says it's incomplete. And a monstrous hit put on there by Eric Green, one of the leaders in this defensive backfield and also a leader at not getting a haircut.
Well, as a defensive back, once you locate the football and find the receiver, your responsibility, tattoo him. You have every right to go through the offensive receiver and knock that football out, and Jaworski just didn't do a good job, Jaworski Pollock, of squeezing that football. Here's a guy that really hasn't been heard of much today. Number 5, Jaworski Pollock. He's their leading receiver for this ball club.
He's not had a haircut since January of 2001. The dread's about a foot long. That's complete. to Wallace Wright, who finally has caught a pass that doesn't go for a touchdown. Let's go down to Dave Ryan.
Well, more of that long hair with Eric Green, the only Hokie with dreadlocks coming out of his helmet. You mentioned a foot-long plus. He says the hair is in honor of his Florida heritage, where dreadlocks are popular. Some of the Tech coaches give Eric a hard time about that look. He says he'll change it someday, maybe when he's in the business world. For now, he loves the dreadlocks. The hardest thing, guys, is going to the beauty salon and sitting under that hairdryer for all that time. He hates it.
Yeah, he says he doesn't know how, women especially can sit under there for an hour or so. That is the worst part of having the long hair. Up top, floated and complete to Mike Mason. Mason gets it inside the 15-yard line. He beat Roland Minor, a 30-yard gain on Mason's first catch of the day.
Well, strikeability is a big thing that North Carolina has going for him after that big victory last week, but you get good field position, you got to capitalize. And Mike Mason did a nice job winning at the line of scrimmage and catching the ball his highest point as he gets down the field.
Mike Mason started last week against Miami at a 35-yard touchdown catch on the opening drive. Big 30-yard gain here. And going down quickly is Chad Scott. We quickly go back to Matt Wine.
All right, Pam, things tightening up at Syracuse. Pittsburgh driving. Tyler Palco to Eric Gill. Got him in the end zone for the touchdown. Pittsburgh missed an extra point earlier in the game, so they have to go for two. Same verse, similar to the previous. Palco, Gill for the two-pointer, ties it up at 21.
Thank you, Matt. And we had an opportunity to do Pittsburgh a few weeks ago and meet with Tyler Palco, a nice local high school kid from the Pittsburgh area, leading them on a comeback against Syracuse today. Scott does not get it. Instead, the pitch goes to Pollock, the wide receiver, and not much there as the Virginia Tech defense with good pursuit. James Griffin in on the stop. Yeah,
Virginia Tech defense knew their responsibilities in the option game. They faked that zone play inside, bring Jaworski Pollock in the backfield for the pitch. Nice job calling plays. Bud Foster, defensive coordinator. Hammer, he said, we're going to bring it. We're going to pinch down inside and bring the hammer over top. Let's see if he does that.
Well, this is what defensive coordinators like, 3rd and 10. Durant keeps it back in for pass protection, but it breaks down anyway. He finally zips it. A dangerous pass. There were 3 Virginia Tech players around the intended receiver. Chad Scott.
A tremendous job tremendous job staying alive, by Durant. But the thing is, when you scramble back towards the sideline, you're taking away 2/3 of the field, and your vision gets all confusing. He had a tight end on the other side of the field, but we could see it up here very well. But for a quarterback, your vision just gets cut in half when you scramble towards the sideline.
Lucky not to get a holding penalty, too, with all that time running around back there. 30-yard field goal attempt for last week's superhero, Connor Barth. And a timeout is taken by Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech down to only one more timeout as Frank Beamer wants to talk over some things. And Connor Barth was the hero last week, again, kicking a 42-yard field goal as time expired. And North Carolina was able to beat Miami, the first time that they've been able to beat a top 5 team in the history of the program. And Connor Barth said last week somebody told him after the game, the day after the game was Halloween here, that Franklin Street is the main street here in Chapel Hill. Somebody actually was dressed up as Connor Barth for Halloween. They had the number 10 football jersey on, the long hair. And Connor, I think, was probably more perplexed by that than anything else.
Well, you're going to see a lot of those costumes in years to come. Coach Bunting calls him one of the best kickers in the country as a true freshman. And he grew up in Wrightsville Beach, down on the shore down there in North Carolina. And I asked him about it because I travel down there every once in a while. And this kid's a surfer. I mean, he says
of course he is.
The best kept secret in the country. And he does some surfing. But Tom Dempsey, the NFL record holder, 63-yard field goal, was here at practice yesterday. A former teammate of Coach Bunting's had a chance to sit down and chat with Connor Barth. And the contrast of styles, it's amazing what Tom Dempsey did when he was playing. Straight-on kicker, and you got a guy like Connor Barth that's a soccer style. It's fortunate enough to have all his limbs and everything. But, what a great story this kid is. Most kickers are very flighting and everything, and we've had our kickers around the country here, Penn, that we've done games with, that some guys are here today and gone tomorrow mentally.
But Barth is not one of them. You see the wild hair in the picture. This is from 30 yards out. And Connor Barth continues to be consistent as he knocks it home from 30, and North Carolina trims the lead back down to 10.
34 yards.
Day 10 of 19 straight of primetime football on ESPN, and ABC continues at 7:45 Eastern Time on ESPN. Miami takes on Clemson. And then on ESPN2 at 9:45 Eastern Time, unbeaten Utah takes on the Rams of Colorado State. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Clemson on a 3-game winning streak. They started 1-4 in the season, but exactly what you don't want if you're Clemson is to play a Miami team that lost last week.
No, but Clemson, they had a big win last week. We had North Carolina State game, and hopefully they can ride that.
On this site, it was 1 week ago today. Last play of the game, Connor Barth from 42 yards out knocks that puppy home, and North Carolina wins it 31-28. And John Bunting told us that Miami had called a field goal to try to ice Barth, so he went out onto the field, Coach Bunting did, and he said he did a little shimmy. He did put his hands up and swiveled his hips a little bit, and Connor said, Coach, I really don't need you to do that. And that's when, Bunting knew he'd be all right.
Well, that's interesting because coaches are always trying to get to know players. I mean, the one constant in life is change, and these players go through so many changes in their college experience. But Connor Barth, I even asked him about that situation, about seeing Bunting shimmy a little bit in the sun. He goes, I didn't see him. I was in such a zone. But you look at the broadcast, and the guy's smiling and everything, and he's just a wonderful character to be introduced to.
Perfect disposition for a kicker. And remember, guys, he's a true freshman. Eddie Royal, who did major damage catching the ball in the first half, returns it and gets it down to about the 28 as we get you back to Matt Weiner.
Hi, Pam. Florida and Vanderbilt this afternoon in Nashville. Chris Leak out of the shotgun, back in his own end zone, and he lost the football. Vandy hops on it. Moses Osumwedji with the touchdown. The Commodores up 10-0.
We know it's early, but can you imagine if Florida would lose to Vanderbilt after also dropping one to Mississippi State? Of course, Ron Zook. Yeah, you can't get fired twice. That's one thing that Ron Zook had. Maybe you can get fired earlier. Maybe they would say...
No, they won't fire him. They'll tell him to leave the sideline. Ron Zook, former coach.
Somebody else would take over.
He's a good man, and what they're doing down there to him, I don't take a liking towards it, but that's not my responsibility.
Terrific recruiter, and his players are upset that he was bounced the way he was. His emo gets bounced down by Terry Hunter, a true freshman from Wendell, North Carolina, in to make the stop.
Here's an opportunity, Pam, for Carolina on defense to shut down this running game. You got a team that's very confident in their running attack, but if you're going to answer the bell on senior day, you got 1 quarter left, 15 minutes of football left, and it's up to these defensive linemen and linebackers to close down that running gap and give Emo little yards to run.
As we head towards the fourth quarter, North Carolina is down by 10 to Virginia Tech, trying to win back-to-back games for the first time.
State staff, are you in good hands?
Fourth quarter about to get underway with Virginia Tech leading North Carolina by 10 as the fans start to make some noise. 2nd and 10 now for Brian Randall and the Hokies. Randall has only thrown 1 pass here in the second half. Do we make it 2? You betcha. And that one is dropped. Josh Hyman. That's the second drop that he has had today, as that one was right in the old breadbasket, and he was unable to bring it in. So it's a 10-point lead right now for Virginia Tech, the 18th ranked team in the country. North Carolina talked before the game, Mike, about how they had to put that Miami win behind them. They got a little under 15 minutes to do it. They got to score at least 10 points.
Well, they've kept themselves in a ball game 10-point deficit here, but Coach Bunting talked to Dick Vermeil early in the week about how to recapture that focus. But at this stage of the game, you don't need to do any more talking. These players need to be responding.
And the fans are responding. 3rd and 10. This would be a big stop. They have yet to keep Tech out of the red zone, and they finally will do it as Randall floats it up to Eddie Royal. Every other possession that Virginia Tech has had in this game, they had gotten the ball into the red zone. The streak stops there right when Carolina needed to do it.
That was a big stop by Carolina, like you said, Pam, and momentum starting to shift a little bit. They got the field goal in their last possession. They're going to get nice field possession here. Let's just punter here just hits a career high for him, but the opportunities in front of him, 10-point deficit is not a long deficit.
First chance to see Vinnie Burns, the punter. Senior comes in, gets nice air under that one. Pollock gets it. Slips a couple of tackles. And after the defensive stop, Pollock gets it up close to midfield. Darrell Mapp on the stop. Check that, Chris Ellis. A 27-yard return on a 52-yard punt. Carolina in good position.
It's better here. Our pickup window is open till midnight or later.
North Carolina trailing Virginia Tech by 10. The defense finally coming up with a big stop as Virginia Tech had 6 possessions. All their first 6 possessions got them into the red zone. They were stopped this time. And you see in the second half, Carolina with 5 yards of offense. And partially because Virginia Tech, 5 yards of rush offense, partially because Virginia Tech has kept the ball and only was thrown until that last possession when they had the second and long and third and long. They'd only thrown 1 pass in the second half.
Well, there's a guy they got to find in this offense in the second half, Chad Scott. He had a tremendous first half, over 100 yards, and you feel some electricity in this stadium, Pam. The fans are starting to come alive, and they know they're still in the ball game, but these players feed off it.
That's only the 3rd carry for Scott here in the second half. He had 12 carries for 105 yards and a touchdown in the first half, but just 3 carries here in the second half for minimal yardage. And Durant, he's going down. Actually, he's not going down. He kept his feet, but still a sack as Darryl Tapp comes in. 6.5 sacks now for Tapp as we go down to Dave Ryan.
Pam, Darryl Tapp has more than just sacking Darian Durant on his mind. Just before the Hokies played at Georgia Tech on October 28th, his biggest fan, his older brother Charles, was called away from attending the game. He had seen all prior games this year in person, but Charles is in the Air Force and was deployed to Iraq on a 120-day tour of duty. Very tough time for Darryl, but Charles did email him this week. He watched the Georgia Tech game on tape and has plans to do the same for this game against North Carolina.
And Tapp with that big sack. That pass is complete up to Jaworski Pollock for 8 yards. And that's Darryl's brother, Charles, gone to Iraq a couple of months ago, actually, just a few weeks ago, on the 20th of October. And Tapp is such a key player in Bud Foster's defense. Holding on, they have a lunch pail that they've been given out, and he's held on to it every week. And Bud Foster, and Tapp's not going to give it up. He has no intention of ever giving it up. Foster says maybe there have been better players on a per-game basis, but overall, Tapp is your lunch pail guy. He's hanging on to it.
That's a prestigious award at Virginia Tech, and that lunch pail mentality, we're seeing it today with the offensive line and defensive line play.
David Woolridge in for his 3rd punt as Eddie Royal stands on his 10. Carolina unable to take advantage of good field position after their defense finally got a stop outside of the red zone. Royal tackled down. That's Wallace Wright. What a game that young man has had. He's caught a 49-yard touchdown pass and also a good special teams tackle, but Carolina's down.
To Suzuki.
We join you on a spectacular November afternoon in Chapel Hill. Virginia Tech up by 10, and Carolina trying to put a lid on this Tech offense, and that's the way to do it. As Mike Emo goes down immediately, we go back to Matt Weiner.
Hi, Pam. Arkansas and South Carolina, Hogs with the lead, but not for long. Watch very closely. Peyton Hillis takes the handoff. He never really got control of it. Then eventually, after the scrum, it squirts out right there into Ko Simpson's hands. He scoops it. He scored from 54. South Carolina's just intercepted another pass, and they have a full-point lead.
Good one going on in Columbia. 2nd and 11 as Emo actually lost a yard. They go right back to him, and not much. So this North Carolina defense, the last second possessions, is really starting to tighten things up. Doug Justice and Shelton Bynum in on the stop.
Yeah, the reason being, Pam, these linebackers are attacking the line of scrimmage. They're getting on their toes and moving forward.
North Carolina has been up and down all year. That huge win against Georgia Tech, follow that up by losing here, shut out by Louisville. Then they upset NC State, go to Utah, lay a major egg, give up 669 yards and lose by 30. Last week, you beat the number 3 team in the country, and this week, you're down to the number 18 team in the country, trying to string together back-to-back wins for the first time since 01. Randall, too much mustard on that throw to Josh Hyman. And Carolina gets a 3 and out.
Well, that's 2 in a row. You talk about consistency. They're trying to get their second game in a row victorious. You do it on defense. You go 3 and out, and hopefully you get Bill on this. Another opportunity for good field position. But that's been the problem here since 2001. They won back-to-back games in 2001, Pam. But you're measured by how well you do week in and week out. And when you're inconsistent like that, that's why you're 4-4.
Vinnie Burns in for his second punt of the day. He had a 53-yarder. And that one is blocked. And a touchdown for North Carolina. Beamer ball in reverse. Carolina gets the huge special teams play.
I think Wallace Wright was in there somewhere. He's celebrating, but it came right up the gut. I believe number 20 just skyrocketed himself right through the middle. You talk about momentum swing. They were planning on having good field position, but why not take the block punt for a touchdown? Huge, huge turnaround for North Carolina.
So North Carolina gets the block punt and the touchdown. DJ Walker getting some congratulations on the sidelines as Connor Barth knocks home the extra point, and we got ourselves a ball game, 27-24.
You continue to believe in yourself, you continue to make plays, and it's just one opportunity after another. Straight up the gut, unblocked. Punt blocker. Take it right off his foot. Just a huge turnaround, Pam.
I think that's 20, Tom O'Leary, who got the block, and then the recovery by DJ Walker.
You know, it's a great heads-up play. Not only the block punt, but to move the ball forward into the end zone and capitalize with 7 points. That's a tremendous turnaround for this team.
So Walker picks it up, number 20, O'Leary. That's a double number on this team for North Carolina. 20 is also the number for Jock Lewis. But O'Leary in on the special teams play. And John Bunting, that's right out of Frank Beamer's playbook, isn't it? You go in there, block a punt, get a touchdown.
Well, Frank Beamer has said recently that, you know, every team he plays against, they know what Beamer ball is all about. It's a kicking game. Well, it raises the level of play of your opponent. They prepare harder, and they want to make their stand and show you they have pretty good kicking game. But Frank Beamer, you know, they were up by a score earlier, 27-14. And North Carolina's battled back in a heartbeat.
Helped on by that blocked punt, and now they're only down by a field goal with plenty of time left.
You want to give yourself a chance late in the game. He's creating an opportunity for himself.
Emo gets the kickoff and is tackled down around the 27-yard line as we visit again with Matt Weiner.
7. Pittsburgh is tacked on a field goal. They were behind late, now lead by 3 heading into the fourth quarter.
Thank you, Matt. That's the third blocked punt, by the way, for North Carolina this year. Tom O'Leary with the huge block. They ring the bell. And the fans are getting loud. Randall going to go up top to Morgan. Josh Morgan, another true freshman, and that falls incomplete.
Nice defensive play. Virginia Tech went to a max protection. They only put 2 receivers out in a route. Hyman and Royal. And guys were just back in coverage, just reading the quarterback the whole way.
Randall is only, 1 for 5, Mike, in the air in the second half.
Well, you know, they've relied heavily on the run throughout the whole game, but more importantly, they forced Randall into a passing situation. He hasn't responded in the second half.
Yep, the play clock goes down. They ask for a timeout. Oh, my goodness, they got it by the skin of their teeth.
You know, Pam, that's something situational. You know, as a quarterback, I might have taken that 5-yard penalty and preserved that timeout for later. But Randall decided to take a timeout and preserve those 5 yards. And that timeout can be beneficial later in the game.
That's right. No timeouts now for Virginia Tech. Let's look at the remaining schedule for North Carolina. Just 2 more games. They'll be at Wake Forest.
We've been there. It's a tough place to play. Florida State had an opportunity to pull it out late.
Jim Grove doing a terrific job, and Wake has had some heartbreaking losses. Virginia Tech's schedule, difficult. They got Maryland next week at home, then Virginia at home, and travel to Miami December 4th. They have the opportunity to run the table, grab the BCS bid as ACC champions.
And they're idle after this game, so they got some time to prepare. And if they lose this game, that's a long preparation time.
At 3:30 Eastern Time, ABC's college football has great regional action. You will see Minnesota and Wisconsin. Others get Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Maryland, and Virginia from Charlottesville, or number 6 Cal taking on Oregon. Check local listings for the game in your area. Minnesota looking for the first win at Camp Randall since 1994. And the ACC has been terrific this year. So many good games, so much parity. Almost half of them have been decided by a touchdown or less. 3 of them have gone into overtime. Great stuff. 2nd and 10. Emo cuts across and gets about 7 yards on that carry. Tommy Davis making the stop.
On the carry for Virginia Tech.
Yeah, first down has become so pivotal in the second half for North Carolina. If they could do their work on first down and force them to a 2nd and 10, like they just did there, they forced them to run the ball. Emo did a nice job picking up 6 yards there, but first down and second down are very pivotal for this defensive ball club.
Mike Emo continuing to build on his career-high day, now 209 yards. Huge third down, now 3rd and 4. Tech has only converted 2 of 8. Pressure coming. Randall gets out of it, and Brian Randall runs for a big first down for Virginia Tech. Got the 5 yards as the pressure was coming. Gerald Sensabaugh made the stop.
Well, Gerald Sensabaugh just a step slow. He read that all the way, but Brian Randall outsmarted him. He saw that gap right there. He knew he had to get 4 yards, and he's smart and athletic enough to go ahead and get after it and get the first down, move the chains. But Sensabaugh, he'll be playing on Sunday next year somewhere, Pam. He just got a nose for the football, and he knows he's a very heady player on the defensive side.
6'2", 210-pounder from Kingsport, Tennessee. But didn't get there in time, as you said. First down, Tech from the 38. And Emo gets it, picks up about 3. Let's go back to Matt Weiner.
Out Pam, South Carolina converted a fumble into a touchdown with a return. Then they picked off Arkansas and converted that as well. Savell Newton, quarterback draw, takes it in. The lead is now 11 for the Gamecocks with 5 minutes left in the third. Georgia up big on Kentucky, setting up their showdown with Auburn next week. They lead at 34-9, also in the third.
Thank you, Matt. Georgia-Auburn next week. That will be
a humdinger.
Oh, my goodness. Much anticipated, and I'm sure very well watched. 2nd and 7 now. As Emo gets it right up the middle and is stopped short of the first down by Tommy Davis. Picked up about 6 more. It was David Clowney, number 87, who came around behind Randall, but he gave it the straight handoff to Emo.
Yeah, Mike Emo, the junior from Fairfax, Virginia, number 20, just impresses me more and more every time he carries the football, Pam, because, like you said, Brian Steinspring said he could take a 5-yard gain and go 25, 30 yards in a heartbeat. But I give credit back to the quarterback. He's putting this offense in some good play, just going by the numbers. And Kevin Rogers, their quarterback coach, said this guy's a student of the game.
Big 3rd and 1. Well, right back to Emo, and he bursts through for the first down and gets into North Carolina territory.
That's a huge first down. You know, they're able to take another probably 2 or 3 minutes off the clock here. They would like to sustain a drive like they had in the first half. 2 of their touchdowns came on long drives early in the first half, and They like nothing better to see the same thing happen.
Carolina with just one first down here in the second half, but the huge punt block by Tom O'Leary, picked up in the end zone by DJ Walker, and that has put them within 3. But Virginia Tech with a couple of first downs on this drive, and they keep going back to number 20, Mike Emo, and we go back to Dave Ryan. Dave.
And what a big drive for Hokie quarterback Brian Randall. Really has the respect of his teammates, not just for leadership, athleticism, off the field endeavors, but two-sport ability too. Last year, he played in 18 games for the Hokie basketball team, almost 13 minutes a game, so it wasn't just mop-up duty. Looks like Brian won't play hoops this year, getting ready for the NFL draft next spring, but Hokie coach Seth Greenberg says the door is always open because he's such a great leader on the basketball court, too. They need leadership right now, and a big drive here, Pam.
So just having him on the team, said Greenberg, was worth it. He did hit a game-winning shot, though, against St. John's. A lot of mop-up duty, but a big shot against St. John's to win a game back in February. Randall, can he win this game? It's tipped at the line and falls incomplete. Bringing up a 3rd and 9.
That's what happens when you get penetration on the other side of the line of scrimmage by a defensive line. They've done their part here in the fourth quarter. They're rising up here. Number 42, Brian Rackley, does a nice job. He gets stalemated, but just plays defense. Get your hand up. That was a low delivery coming out of the pocket there by Randall.
Rackley has a sack today and a big tip there. Virginia Tech has converted 2 third downs already on this drive, but this is a 3rd and 9. They don't have any timeouts left. Randall gets the play off in time. Throws it up long and tipped again. I think that's Tommy Richardson as the ball was going towards Josh Morgan.
Looks like Brian Randall moving his shoulder around like he's got a little impingement or something. But, you know, Brian Randall never really set his feet there. And he was moving to his left. The ball just sailed on him. Potential interception there, but nice stop by North Carolina.
And Morgan was out in space. He had some room to catch the ball. Richardson knocks it away. The last time Vinnie Burns punted, well, it was blocked for the touchdown that drew North Carolina to within 3 points. And the fans yell, block that kick again. But this time they...
One of my favorite cheers in football. push him back, way back, or block that kick.
They blocked one for a touchdown. Jaworski Pollock decided to stay away from that punt. But North Carolina only down by 3, gets the ball back, setting up for a good finish here in Chapel Hill.
It meets all safety standards. Skechers work made to last.
6 minutes and 5 seconds left. North Carolina with the football only down by 3 to number 18, Virginia Tech. Darian Durant, the senior, playing his final home game, doing a lot of running. A lot of east and west, but about 7 north and south.
Let's go back to that last throw by Brian Randall. I think he might have had a little problem with his throwing motion. Watch as he moves to his left and steps. You know, he had to throw over a defender, but he grabs his right lat. And when he grabs his right lat, that's because he might have pulled a muscle or tweaked something. And if that happens to a quarterback, it's going to change your whole throwing motion completely. So something to look forward to in the future.
Yep. Randall 7 for 18 on the day. 2nd and 3 for Carolina. And a big hole. Chad Scott runs through it, gets the first down and a whole lot more. So let's go back to Matt Weiner.
On the second quarter, still with a 10-point lead on Florida. We'll keep you updated on that.
Oh my, Matt. All right, 17-7 for Vandy. Here we have a 3-point lead. North Carolina trailed by as many as 13 points in the third quarter. That one is zipped out and completed to Mike Mason, and Mason fights his way for a first down. He took Eric Green with him the last couple of yards. First down, Tar Heels.
There's no quit in this ball club. Got senior leadership by Durant doing it with his execution. Mason on the outside going against Eric Green. You know, that's what it's all about. We talked about in the beginning about can this team come back and win after a big victory, but the bottom line is they put themselves in a situation here, Pam, with 4 minutes and counting to give themselves an opportunity to win this game.
Second catch of the day for Mason. That one was good for 13 yards and a first down. Flag is down as Chad Scott is taken down a couple of yards past the line of scrimmage by James Anderson.
Yeah, they had two guys moving, the motion guy and the fullback jumping around a little bit, and you can't do that in this game.
Penalties really hurting Carolina today.
Well, actually, it wasn't. I'm sorry. I got outsmarted there.
That's Tom Zamorski from our ACC officiating crew.
You know, somebody that's seen a lot of football games like myself, you figure you're a second or third official up here watching the game.
56 defense, 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Still first down.
Jonathan Lewis called for being offsides. We are in Chapel Hill, where North Carolina is trying to come up with its second huge win in a row, beating Miami last week here. Number 3rd-ranked team in the country, now taking on number 18 Virginia Tech. Mike Emo has been spectacular. 223 yards and 2 touchdowns, a career high for him. Coming up next, College Game Day now, presented by Acura as Matt Weiner and the guys get up to date on everything that's happening on this first Saturday in November. Chad Scott on 1st and 5 doesn't get anything. Xavier Adibi making the stop. Adibi again with that torn biceps muscle, had the procedure done on it to come back incredibly fast. And not playing a lot of snaps, but it always seems that when he's on the field, Mike, he's in on, making a play.
Well, he certainly is. And going back to his injury, Pam, that bicep tendon, it's more up by the shoulder. And I think he's probably a lot stronger now than he was when he initially had the injury, because he pays so much attention to the rehab and building that strength around it.
He's a true freshman from Hampton, the brother of Nathaniel Adibi, who was a great player at Tech and now with the Jags in the NFL. Durant with trouble closing in. Oh, what a catch and pass. Jaworski Pollock. His 5th catch is a good one, 16 yards. He had 3 Tech defenders around him.
I'm sure Darian's father, Mr. Durant, came back inside for that one. Durant just buys time in the pocket. Let's go to a zone coverage with middle covered. He just leaks behind the receiver or defender, and Durant had the poise in the pocket to deliver that big throw. Now his dad can come back in the stadium and watch the completion of this game.
Mike Daniels with a hard hit from behind, but Pollock held onto it, and boy, that was a perfectly thrown pass. Scott coming right back. And Chad Scott gets it inside the 25-yard line. 4 more yards for Scott, and Scott was one of the heroes last week, 175 yards against Miami. He now has 122 today. What a way to go out. Scott also is a senior. He was started at Kentucky, where he was on an all-SEC, all-freshman team, then had some injuries in his second year there. They wanted to turn him into a wide receiver. He said, forget that, and transferred here to North Carolina. Pollock again, this time on the swing pass, and he is hunted down nicely by Mike Daniels.
Well, Mike Daniels did a great job reacting on the throw to close very quickly. But back to that story about Chad Scott transferring from Kentucky. You know, Pam, it's interesting when these guys come together as seniors. You come in with a recruiting class, and Chad Scott was not here initially, and nor was Sensabaugh. But you come together, you gel, you build camaraderie, and it comes down to the last minute and 40 to control your destiny and try to get 2 wins in a row.
And a big 3rd and 8 for the Tar Heels. Durant goes down, exactly what North Carolina did not need. Jim Davis coming in with his 4th sack of the season. That was a 3rd and 8. And now they are pushed all the way back to the 37.
Well, Jim Daniels, just a workman-like mentality. He just bulls Charleston Gray, the left guard. And Jimmy Daniels got after that quarterback pretty good there just by fighting his offensive protector right there and working through him.
Connor Barth is the field goal kicker as North Carolina takes the timeout. But they have been pushed back to the 37, so it'd be what, about a 54-yarder. Let's go back to Matt Weiner. Matt.
All right, Pam, possibly in just a couple of minutes. College Game Day now, presented by Acura. If time permits, we have live look-ins as well as scores and highlights on our radar right now. North Carolina State and Georgia Tech. The Ramblin' Wreck trails by 4, but they're knocking on the door right there. Pittsburgh and Syracuse currently a 3-point game. And Northwestern Penn State still tight in Happy Valley as Joe Paterno's team looks for its first Big Ten win of the conference season. It's all coming up as soon as you wrap it up from Chapel Hill.
Thanks, Matt. Some great finishes in those games, and we have one here as well. Connor Barth has hit a 50-yard field goal. Did that in the big win against NC State on October the 9th. He's hit from 30 today. Hit the 42-yarder last week to beat Miami on the last play. And he is out to try and tie up this football game.
It'll be 54, 9 yards shy of Tom Dempsey, who was here at practice yesterday, who was actually standing in the exact spot. Not where Barth is right now, but this is a stretch, but this kid has a lot of talent.
He did kick a 53-yarder in high school, so this is a 54-yarder right in the middle of the field for the tie. Just short. So Barth, boy, that sack was a killer by Jim Davis. Knocked him out of field goal range. And Virginia Tech only has 1:09 to kill.
Yeah, this kick didn't have a lot of oomph on it, but when you're getting 54 yards and you're asked to do it last week and now this week just to tie it up, just 3 yards short, and got a good leg on it. But like you were just saying, Pam, that sack by Jimmy Davis was tremendous, and you thought maybe Durant could have thrown that ball out of bounds, but Durant's the type of quarterback that gets out of tackles so many times.
Virginia Tech trying to kill the clock now as Emo squirts forward for another 3 or 4 yards. Doug Justice with his 6th stop on the day. And Mike Emo continuing to build on his career-high day, 227 yards and 2 touchdowns. Storylines coming in is Virginia Tech can clinch the ACC title by winning out, winning today, obviously. But then they have Maryland, Virginia, and Miami. Carolina, if they lose today, will have to win their final 2 games against Wake Forest and Duke to be bowl eligible.
Well, they have to go to Wake Forest, which is a tough environment to play in, but you know, this team has a lot of fight, man. We've seen them twice this year, and being at 4-4 and on the verge or heels of 4-5, they still have a lot of pride, a lot of confidence in that senior leadership. But Coach Bunting's done a nice job, and his whole staff, of staying close together. Big wins, momentum swings, you know, coming off the big victory. It's tough to keep this team even-keeled.
Connor Barth is going to be a terrific kicker, and John Bunting talked about how he never seems to get rattled by anything, but just falling short on that 54-yard field goal that would have tied this game.
And give Virginia Tech credit. I mean, they have an off week coming up, and I'm sure Coach Beamer is going to be the type of coach that works on the fundamentals and learns from this game. I think their running game's pretty stout. I would think it's safe to say that their receiving core is pretty stout, but you know, defensively they gave us some gashes because they went against a tough running back in Chad Scott.
2nd and 6, Carolina down to only 1 timeout. Emo again, running yardage for the first down. Up towards midfield, Sensabaugh with his 6th tackle. And the Virginia Tech fans, there are thousands of them here. There were 5,000 tickets allotted. They gobbled them up and then gobbled up some more because there might be, 7,000 to 10,000 Hokie fans here.
I don't know, but they're sporting the colors, and they travel very well. You know, getting back to what happened, 27-24, it's 2 or 3 plays in the game. And that block punt you thought was going to turn around for North Carolina, but that sack was a defining moment for Virginia Tech in the victory. But Jimmy Davis, going back to the sack earlier on 3rd down, number 95, just beats his man inside. He thought Durant might have thrown the ball away there, but it's a trust thing. It's a trust thing. You trust your offensive line, and that's the initial pressure that Durant didn't see because he was looking out towards right flat.
And they lost 11 yards on that sack, so instead of a 43-yard field goal, very makeable for Connor Barth, it was 54, and he just missed it, about 3 yards short And Frank Beamer starts to get some congratulations.
What do you think of this ball club, Virginia Tech, Pam? Can they run the table?
I don't know. This schedule, you got Maryland, Virginia at home, and then at Miami. It would be difficult, but doable. I mean, Beamer is a guy you just have all the respect in the world for, and his team had a 13-point lead here in the second half and withstood a charge from this North Carolina team.
He knew that was going to happen. That charge was going to happen sooner or later, but Frank Beamer, he's got some players on his side of the football, offensively and defensively. The strikeability is there for Virginia Tech as they move through their schedule.
And with this win, Virginia Tech will be eligible to go to a bowl, and it would be the 12th straight season in which Tech has gone to a bowl. Only 7 other teams have gone to 11 straight, so just a tremendous job. Beamer, an alum of Virginia Tech, going back home and doing a great job with this program. And as for North Carolina, a valiant effort as they followed up that huge win against Miami, got back into this thing, and were it not for that 11-yard sack, we might be looking at overtime right now.
And there's a good group of seniors, and I wish them the best as they strive to get to a bowl game, and nothing more deserving than a senior group.
John Bunting himself, another alum coach. He went to North Carolina, and this is the ball game. Mike Emo ran for 236 yards. Chad Scott 122 for North Carolina, but Frank Beamer's team holds on to win by the final of 27-24. So Virginia Tech wins in this series for the first time since 1928. Coming up next, College Game Day now.